Tammy got a booger.
Well, there's the first edit of the podcast.
Already.
Welcome in to episode 7, I think. Yep, episode 7 of Off the Rails podcast.
Yep.
And as you can see, or not see, depends on where you're watching this at, we've made some additions to the room. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Who did you bring with you?
I brought a special guest with me today, my lovely bride, and her name is Tammy. So all y'all say hello, Tammy.
How's it going, everyone?
Hi, Tammy.
What's up, Tammy?
Oh, shoot. I did it again. Hold on. Do it again, Mitch.
I brought a special guest with me. It is my lovely bride, and her name is Tammy.
All right, that's not bad. Y'all sit in the corner.
Who did you bring? I noticed there's somebody down in the other corner over there. Who is that? Who might that be?
I brought the fire. I brought the fire with me. I'll
take it.
I brought my wife, the cheerleader, and the encourager, and the CFO of Simplify Builds. I brought Kim with me, and we may or may not regret this.
Well, there's always the edit button.
That's true.
That's right. Hey, babe, what do you think? Do you feel famous?
Not yet.
Good, because nobody's listening to this, so you shouldn't feel
Sure.
you should feel famous.
I've seen the numbers of people who've watched this, so I feel okay.
Yeah.
You've only seen the numbers for episode 1. I mean, we haven't even gone live with 2
Right.
episodes yet.
Yeah.
So come on,
It's true.
Come on, have a little
It's
faith.
true. I do.
Have a little faith.
That's how we made
got-
it 25
We've
years.
got like. Hold on, let me look. What do we have? Where are we at? We got 27 subscribers on YouTube. I'm just saying.
Pretty good.
And we are officially, at this point of recording, we have gone live on every platform with the exception of Apple Podcast and TuneIn. So at this point in time, you were able to listen to us previously on Spotify, Google, Podcast Index, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Podcast Pocket Cast. I don't even know what that is, but it's there. Deezer, Listen Notes, and Player FM. We're just waiting on Apple and TuneIn, and we'll have hit every platform that is available or that we can afford.
Yeah, really.
Nice.
So all the free ones.
Well, I guess we figured we'd just do something a little bit different. I'm sure I don't know, and none of this is planned. Like, my wife has been podcasting for exactly however long.
3 minutes and 5 seconds.
That's right. So,
Well, and as right before we pressed record, she said, "So is there a plan?" No, there's never. We haven't
Never a
planned
plan.
for 7 episodes. I don't know why we would start now. So
no plan.
the plan is I got my whiskey.
Yeah.
I've got my refill,
Okay.
and
Nice.
When he
I've
runs,
got a new hat. That's the plan. That is as much planning that has been done for this episode as possible.
when he runs out, we're done. So, see that right there? That's 5 minutes gone right there. You just took a sip.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sometimes. Well,
I'm used to no plan, so let's do
Yeah.
this.
well, it's because you live with me.
I'm about to say these two ladies are absolutely used to winging it.
Oh man, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll talk about the shop at some other point in time. Well, if we have time. But I thought it would be fun for 2 purposes: to test the ability to host a guest. So far so good. We've got 2 guests in. It was a little painful. Wasn't a whole lot of pain, but because we had a computer issue that during testing that we found out we couldn't get the camera to work on one of our computers. But we were able to get going, so we know at this point in time we can host 2 guests for about 5 minutes. So that's a good learning curve. And then probably figured that we needed to add some kind of other form of entertainment to this because we're probably not doing a good job at this point in time.
Yeah, this is a reward for listening to 6 episodes with no guests. So now you get rewarded.
And a punishment for our wives. I don't know what you did wrong, but you're being punished.
Well, all right.
Well, talk. So, I wrote down I got a whole bunch of questions here that I wanted to ask.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with this list, and we'll start here and work up. Oh, crap. I didn't write anything down.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out what we're going to do. But I do have, so my first question is for Tammy, and I was thinking about this because you guys have been at this longer than let rephrase. So we've been married 2 years longer than you guys, right? So about 2 years longer than you guys.
2001 here.
2001. And we got 2001?
No, 2005.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was like, wait a second.
I
I got married in 2001.
2005.
You were really making me question when I got married. I was like, wait a second. I was at both of these weddings. And the math doesn't work that I was able to be at a second wedding in 2001 because I was in another place.
Hey, for the record, I knew it. I knew the year. I'm just saying. I knew it.
Hey, I just need to remember the date. Like the year. So we've been, so we got married in 2001. You guys got married in 2005. And as those of you who have been listening to this point know that they just celebrated an anniversary because we did talk about that on a podcast.
Yep.
Which one is that? Because I was naming podcast episodes, and that one's got to be Happy Anniversary, but I can't remember which one it was.
It should have been probably 2 podcasts ago.
2 podcasts ago.
Yep.
Okay. Happy Anniversary. All right. So, but you guys have been at this longer than we have, especially for like operating a small business, and then a little bit more on the aspect of operating a family business, because you guys are, as we've talked about it some, you guys are really a family business. I mean, you and the kids have, I don't want to say as much, but have put in a lot of sweat equity and time with Mitch to have what you guys have, right? For which part? Which part are you blessing? The work or for being with Mitch? Can I? Okay. Yeah. I mean, just a little clarity. I just want to know. But so what do you think has been like, I'll just ask, what do you think's been like the biggest challenge? Because that's what everybody wants to know. Nobody wants to know the fun or the easy stuff, right? They want to know what the hard stuff is.
Time. Having time to do stuff other than work. Having time to be a family. Having time to be married other than wanting to go home and go to sleep. So trying to find the time when running a business just to make everything else work besides business. That's been the most challenging.
And I can see that because we've talked about how like just us having the ability to get on here once a week and talk through the podcast is almost proven to be a little bit of a therapeutic situation for he and I, because we get an opportunity to talk to each other about the business and about cabinet related stuff that really nobody else in our world fully understands that wants to listen to it. Like you guys, y'all understand what we're saying, but there's a point where you don't want to listen to it anymore. Mm-hmm. Like y'all don't want to leave the shop from working and then go home and sit at the dinner table and continue to talk about work.
Yeah.
Work.
I mean, and so I'm sure that's really hard for you guys. I mean, but what do you think? What's a challenge? What's been a challenge for you?
I would definitely agree with Tammy. Time is a lot. It's tough because Travis, he'll go some days and go to work at 6 a.m. and he gets done at 5, and then if he's got to go see a client, and then he comes home and we eat and we do it all again the next day. I mean, our life is very much turned into a routine, and it's, we talked about that not too long ago at one point in time, that it's hard to not get caught up in the same thing every day in that routine. And how do you step out of that? Because you can't. I mean, I grew up with someone who had their own business per se, running a farm, and now I'm married to someone who has a small business, and it's the same thing. Like you are, as much as you're married to that person, you're married to that business, and it's hard because if you don't work, you don't get paid. If you're not home, you don't get paid.
But
Yeah.
now everybody,
So,
everybody says that being a business owner is the best thing in the world. We get to do what we want, when we want, and how
Yeah.
we want to do it.
We
I
get-
mean, so I don't
Well, you
understand
do.
what you girls are talking about how it's hard to find time because everybody in the outside world says that we get to do whatever we want to whenever we want to. So
Yeah, there's a
no,
Yeah,
there's
really.
definitely an aura of because I think people put themselves in our position mentally and say, because they hate their job probably or whatever, and they say, man, if I worked for myself, I would go in at 10 o'clock and I'd be done after lunch, and I'd spend every afternoon with my kids. And the reality is Alabama Power is going to show up every month, and your mortgage is going to show up every month, and the shop payment is going to show up every month. And, it's just not simply that easy. And everybody here, there are sacrifices with everybody, And there was a time when Tammy and all three of my children were in this shop every hour I was, because we were left in a bind and we had to do work, and there was no questions asked. They came in and worked, But it's one of those things where everybody understands that it's just, we got to keep this thing moving. We just have to move. And there are some sacrifices. Now, we don't miss, per se, birthday parties and things like that. We can schedule around that, but there's a lot of hours spent in the shop, and a lot of times our wives are at home, waiting on us to get home and waiting on us to get through. And it's a very interesting dynamic when you think about it.
yeah, I thought one of the best ways to
Yeah.
keep from being yelled at about being late for dinner when we record podcasts was to invite the girls on for the podcast.
Yeah,
so that
yeah. Now they're in
when
here with
I
us.
walk downstairs, she's not ready without me. So I'm trying to figure out alternative ways to stay out of trouble. That's really what this is all about.
You just get to take me to dinner tonight.
Ooh.
So works for me.
I was gonna say, everybody's gonna be hangry at one
Yes.
time.
So this podcast is costing money now. Okay, got it.
Really worked out for me. I don't have to cook, so I'm good
We
with
need a
it.
sponsor,
Yeah.
man, quick, if we're going to do this.
Yeah. And speaking of offcuts at styleboys.com, offcuts at styleboys.com, we'll take sponsorship information and as well as questions, but mostly are looking for sponsorship information through there.
Yeah.
That's the main goal that we bought that address for.
The
Well,
Wise would appreciate it.
so
Yes.
so we've talked about some of that before, where that we do have freedom to flex, but when we flex the schedule, not flex, but flex the schedule, that is still there. Like, I mean, you take off midday on a Saturday to go to a birthday party. Yeah, you've got the ability to do that. But whatever was waiting on you that you walked away from to be able to go to that birthday party, it's still sitting there.
waiting.
It's still time that has to be made up, and that PTO or that sick time is just not really a thing for us. And maybe eventually it will be, but at this point of being a true small business, being an employee of one and you being an employee of, I don't know how you actually count your employee head count, so I don't want to say, but
Technically, I don't, because they're
3.556 or something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. We call them W-9, so they work with me. So
Gotcha.
there you go.
Gotcha.
That's how we do it. Well, I'm gonna throw a question in unless you weren't done.
No, I'm done. I was hoping you would raise your hand because I was thirsty.
Yeah, Kim,
Next.
take me back.
Yes, sir.
Take us back to when Travis said, "Hey, I think I'm gonna start making cabinets for this guy, and we're gonna run our business." What? Because we gave you guys a huge shout out for the support, but you might have been feeling
did.
some kind of way about it. You know what I'm saying? So take us back to when Travis said, "Hey, we're gonna do this," and how did you feel? How did you move on from that?
For me, it's pretty simple. Because at that point in time, in Travis's life, he was very unhappy. He had been doing the small business, but we came to a crossroads where we knew we had to change something. And he wasn't sure if we were going to continue it or not. And I was really probably the one that pushed it more so than him. It was something that he wanted to do. I knew he wanted to be in that space, and I knew his love was woodwork. The first time it didn't go
I'm
that
really
route,
glad you
but,
put work with that wood part. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
But so for me, it's real simple. I mean, no matter what, it's more important for us to be happy than to have a big job or, have a lot of money. And
Well, we nailed
It's not
that
how I
part,
was
boy, because
raised.
we're happy as hell.
Yeah,
and
we're
broke.
good there.
So I mean, thanks. I'm glad you feel that way.
Oh,
Nothing
man.
like being happy
Yeah.
over rich.
But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But it was very simple.
You're
So
welcome.
when it actually all came about, I know Travis talks about how it all kind of got started in one episode. But I definitely would say that it was as much me pushing him and saying, yeah, let's do it. We'll figure it out. And I think that's just my personality, that when it comes down to it and we know that we got to make a move and, it's our livelihood and our happiness, then we just make it happen. So that's what we did. We pushed back and we were like, let's try it again. And, Travis lots of times likes to say, I don't know, or I can't, or I don't know if I can. And I'm very much the person that says, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
I require a lot of cheerleading.
if you try,
I'm not-
he does.
We have got an issue.
What's wrong?
Tammy is out.
Can
There
you
she
see
is.
me?
Oh, there she
Yes.
is.
I'm here.
There
Yep.
she is.
Welcome back.
And it's actually Dumbledore, your children, who knocked me off, not your wife. I could hear you.
Dang.
I figured she
Good.
could probably hear you. I was afraid of that.
Did they have Netflix
She was
going?
there, like she was on the master screen. I was like,
Yes,
I'm pretty sure she's
it was
there.
Netflix.
Again, we got to do the
It
hand
wasn't
signals,
me.
man. You got to like,
Well, we've never done this before, so I
Always
didn't know the
blaming
hand
the
signal
wife.
for "shut up."
Yes, exactly.
What's the
Zip
hand?
it.
What's it? I was trying to think of the Rick and Bubble word. What did they? Dang, what did they? Oompa Loompa.
Oompa Loompa.
Yeah. I was like,
Did
what's
they
the
get on
Oompa
Netflix
Loompa
or
word?
something, Tammy?
Netflix.
Probably
Yep,
JoJo,
it was
wasn't
your
it?
wee
Well,
one.
they're trying to find something to do.
Yeah,
It
I
was-
knew it was JoJo.
It was your wee one for sure.
Yeah.
Tell them there's goats to be fed or cabinets to be painted. Go do that.
And look, I'm over here babysitting a dog, and she's just laying there. She is out.
No.
Is that what was snoring, or was that just you breathing?
It's
earlier?
probably just me breathing.
Oh.
It's been a rough day for me. It's been rough.
All right, so before we had the little internet oopsie doopsie, where little JoJo tried to get on Netflix and search for who knows what. We were talking about kind of having to encourage, I guess, was kind of the point where Kim was at, and I was saying that I am a person that requires a lot of cheerleading, and I recognize that. I don't like that I'm that way, but I do recognize that, like, I need some propping up, and I need some rah-rahing, or sometimes I can just go, I don't really want to do this anymore. I don't really just want to take my toys and go home.
Yeah. Yep.
Is Mitch like that at all, Tammy, or is what's it like? What's it like getting him? Because you guys took on so when you guys took the leap from employed by somebody to kind of going into the self-employed thing, you guys took a much bigger leap financially, for sure.
I feel like we
taking
did.
on the building.
I feel.
yeah, I
I
mean,
feel
definitely.
like because we have a little bit different setup, as in I stayed home to raise the kids and to school the kids. So we were with Mitch's income. I did side jobs, but it wasn't. He has the bulk of making the money for the house. So when we saw the ad for the cabinet shop, it was kind of interesting. Mitch is like, I want to build cabinets. And I'm like, but you don't build cabinets. You always turn down building cabinets, and but when we
Your shop is 12 by 12.
yeah,
What do you mean?
we don't do cabinets, but we're going to jump in and buy a cabinet shop. But my thing, when we went and met with the man who sold us the shop, I just had a peace about it. Because I'm a praying woman, and I believe that God will stop things if you pray for him too before you jump off a cliff. And I was when I saw that Mitchell was at peace about it and he was excited about it, that is when I was like a definite peace, because he is a very responsible man. He takes care of his family. He's going to do what he's got to do. And he had multiple opportunities to do other things, but he didn't think that it was going to be enough to take care of the family, so he didn't do it. And like Kim was saying, Mitchell was miserable at his last job. I mean, he hated it. And I've actually been married
That's a
to
lie.
a...
He told me all the time how much he loved that place.
No.
I mean,
I'm actually married to a
shift
different man now. So, since he's not that stressed. So, yeah. But it went good, and like all the doors opened for that. And like God opened all those doors for this cabinet business, and we've been busy ever since. So,
yeah, I listened to the story of, we've mentioned before that, we're not going to preach to the 10 people listening, but we're not going to shy away from what we do believe. So when I listened to like the story of you guys buying the cabinet shop and basically Mitch trying to find every way possible not to buy the cabinet shop, and every answer being kind of thrown back at him as he was questioning it and wondering if it was the right thing to do, to be honest with you, it makes me kind of wonder or question, like, am I going to God enough about running a small business and what I do to get the answers that I need sometimes, because
yeah.
but I feel like a lot of times that my answers actually just kind of come from Kim, through Kim, not from Kim, but through her, because I think, I don't know if I'm just not listening to the right channel or if I'm just too pessimistic sometimes, but it's like every time that I can't find the answer, like it's like I'm getting fed the answer from her a lot of times.
Right.
But I definitely know that you guys, your faith definitely carries you, and we try. I mean, but I know that your faith definitely carried you through the process of finding the shop, and is this the right step for you guys? Is this the right move for the family?
Right.
Yeah, and like the story goes, I was so tired of trying to talk myself out of it that I just I gave in, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I think the jump, because if I'd have bought the shop and it would have failed, see, I still had a real job. And so, yeah, I would have lost the down payment, and probably not. I mean, Charlie probably would have, refunded at least part of it or something. But anyway, the risk came when I told my boss, I said, hey, I'm not coming back. That's it. And then we were like, this is it. And I think that is because I had the cabinet shop for a few months. And then when I told him, I said, that's it, I'm not coming back. I think at that point was when I kind of had to step back and say, ooh, it's now or never, man. Like, if you make this step, that's it. There's no, I worked for a corporation that you couldn't just show up on Monday and say, hey, I want to come back. I was messing around. I was just kidding.
I bet you could now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably now. You
Probably
could.
so, yes.
You want to come back? Like, we ain't
They'll
seen
take
you
it
in
right
4
now.
days, but we don't care.
Yeah,
Hey, you're here
who
today.
cares?
We'll take it. I mean, the
Yeah.
employment industry has changed so much. But do you think that having, I don't want it to sound the wrong way, because I don't want it to sound like I had any feelings of you being lazy, because I know for sure that that's not the case. But do you feel like having the full-time job slowed, because you had like a 5-year plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think having the full-time job kind of slowed your desire to have that 5-year plan accelerate? Like, I know, and it did. It accelerated way faster than you planned on it. But do you think having that as a backup versus, all right, we're buying this cabinet shop, tomorrow I'm turning in my notice and I am 100% in on this cabinet thing. Like, how do you think, just because I wonder sometimes, because I pretty much did that. I pretty much said, all right, we're gonna start the remodel
Travis
business.
Jones.
Yeah, I jump really hard and really fast.
Yeah.
Like, unless it's more than 10 feet high, and I'll stand there for hours as people cheer trying to get me to jump off of a rock. And that's a whole
That's
nother
true.
story. I'll tell you about that. But because I wonder
videos.
sometimes when people are trying to decide, do I want to move from this known? It might be miserable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still the known.
Yeah.
I know that this company is going to give me a paycheck in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
As miserable as I'm going to be, and I'm going to hate every moment of it, but I know in 2 weeks I'm going to get a paycheck, and I know what it's going to be. Like unlike us, who I don't know what the next paycheck is going to be,
Right.
nor do I know when it's going to be.
Yeah, it did slow it down. I mean, I was like, basically, if we can, like, if it wasn't for the work, if the work had stopped coming through, and I haven't really heard anything in a minute, I definitely would have let the cabinet shop go by the wayside. I would have not focused on it. But what wound up happening is once the work kind of kept coming in, it actually drove me even harder. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't waiting on the next call to come in. And I was like, shoot, man, if this is the way it's going to be, now I've got to step up on the cabinet end, and it actually caused me to work, more hours, and then finally it was over with.
Yeah, I agree with you. So Tammy, do you feel like that jump was harder or easier with him having the job as a backup, or like just from the outside looking in? Like,
I think for his peace of mind, yes. I think that was easier. I think for reality-wise, it probably wasn't because he worked himself to death. I know the morning that he quit the other job, he had worked at the cabinet shop the day before, worked at the last job all night, and it was morning, and we had just closed on a house, which we also did that. We stepped way down on the house prices, so we could, make this work. But his eyes were bloodshot. He was just completely wore out. So I think for peace of mind, yes, it was easier for him, but I don't know if it was the right thing for his overall, health and mental health. It just helped him to make the jump and not just dive in. So what do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, that was, dude, I was 16 hours a day for months, 7 days a week. It was crazy. And I was at the point where I was like, I ain't coming back. Nope. I'll move on and do something else, but I've got to get out of that place at the end of the day.
And that was one of the things we talked about during the first recording that we actually lost, but was, the fact that, you're travel. Not only were you working 2 jobs, but you were traveling so much in between. Mm-hmm. It was, you're talking about 20 to 40 minutes commute.
Yeah.
And then having to get back home. Plus, you were still with the fire department. You were still volunteering there and putting in oodles of hours and overseeing that and on the board. And I mean, and then trying to be a dad, of 3 kids, and then the hobby farm. And I mean, you guys had a ton of irons in the fire, I mean, yeah, something has to break, but that's why I was asking, I wonder what is the right thing to tell somebody, because I see it online all the time with Facebook groups. They're like, well, I really want to go full time. I want to leave my job and I want to be a handyman, or I really want to, do the cabinet thing, or, whatever, I want to go fly, RC planes for a living, whatever it is. And they're like, well, when should I do it? And I often, as I look at that, wonder, like, what is the right answer there? Because for me, it was...
I don't think there is one.
I don't think there is either. I mean, because for me, it was go. It was either
it's
go
terrifying.
or shut up.
Yeah.
That seemed like to be the option. Quit griping and complaining, or do something about it.
Yep.
Well, and I think that's where I get to the point where he was he's so miserable. This isn't going to work. It's not worth it. I need you to jump. You got to go. Like, it's time, because we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you're the one that has the financial response. And I appreciate the encouragement. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like I don't. But for anybody that carries the financial load for a family, that is just an additional consideration that is I don't know how you factor that. Like I don't even know how to factor that as part of the decision, because it's almost like the only factor. Like if you really care about your family, and you really care to provide and give the best to them, and to give them more than you had, I mean, that's the goal, right? Like, my goal is not to give them the best that they could possibly ever have, because I don't know that I could achieve that, right? But I just, if I can do better than my parents did, then I've done good to set them up to understand that I want them to do better than me. I mean, I tell my oldest daughter all the time, if I knock down $500,000 this year, I want to see you knock down $1 million. Like whatever it is, like I want to see whatever that I've been able to achieve. I don't want you to achieve what I've achieved. I want you to embarrass me and blow me out of the water. Like, I don't want you to have the same struggles. I don't want you to have the same worries that we had. But when you're carrying the financial load for a family, that's happiness really has to kind of come second. But that's where I think the wives come in, right? Or your significant other,
100%.
Your support system has to come in and really push you, to take that next step, because you need that reassurance, right? You need that assurance of, So that's why I say I think you got to talk to your spouse. Like, you got to talk and figure out what that timing is for your house, right? Because we did it completely different, right? But we're here.
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't know that either one of us did it wrong. I'm not saying that I did it right and you did it wrong, or you did it right and I did it wrong.
Right.
I do look back and question it sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing I've noticed is, through the years of doing this, is you have, Facebook friends. You ever notice how we say, well, we're friends on Facebook, right? Well, do you know Tim? Well, yeah, we're friends on Facebook. And people will jump on Facebook if they see your post and they're like, oh, yeah, well, good luck. Well, I hope it goes good. That's on Facebook. But, man, when you have to come and sit at a supper table and to have your wife sit there and say, you got it. It's not, you can do it. That's what a real, us as men, we have to have that. We have to have that. I mean, because we're carrying our load, not to say it's bigger than anybody else's, but it's still a load. And a lot of the times we deal with our loads as fathers and husbands is encouragement, somebody behind us pushing. But we need you to be real about it. If you were just, if Tammy just kind of stood back and she wasn't really involved and she didn't care and she wasn't, supportive and positive, I would have given up, because there's bad days here too. Not every day is a cakewalk,
Well, I can't tell you how many times I get, is there something I can come do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, there's really not, but it means a lot. It means a lot that if I had something, I know you would come. Like, and there's been times where she's came. I mean, there's been times where she showed up on at a job site. I mean, I had a remodel from hell that had a wood parquet floor that I didn't think we were ever going to get off. It was glued down to concrete, and she run an air hammer or a hammer drill till literally I walk downstairs and she's in tears because she can't hold on to it anymore. Yeah. But she knows the floor is we still got to get it up. Whereas I'm working on another section of the house and she's in tears because she literally cannot hold the drill anymore because her hands are so blistered and she knows that she can no longer help. Like, she's out. Like, there's no more support she can give other than now she can just strictly cheerlead. There's no more physical help she can have. I mean, and this project, I'm talking about, like, Taylor, our oldest daughter, she's the next day, I'm like, hey, you want to make some money? Because you're fixing to learn how to cut tile. Like, I mean, it was bad. I mean, we were under this crazy timeline. They were, moving in. It was this really narrow window to work in, and it was terrible, But I think that you also need, this is going to sound bad, but we all know that when we mess up, the first person that tells us that we messed up is also our wives. Mm-hmm. Like, right? I mean, it's constructive criticism. Yeah. But they do keep us straight and let us know.
I believe the first person who tells us we messed up is our husbands, and they're like looking. Oh, there they are. You messed up. Yeah. Hey, no.
If you're listening on audio,
Look at
I am
Kim's face when
bewildered.
you
This
said
is my
that.
bewildered face. I
Yeah,
do not
we're
know
on
what
the
you're
same
talking about. Mess up. I've never.
I just want to make sure.
Where's your whip? I don't. My whip's over here. Where's your whip?
Mitch is
Kim?
just smiling, nodding.
you know we can't
Yeah,
yeah.
That's about right.
I'm just rocking back.
Every room.
Yeah.
Yeah. One in
No,
every
that's
room.
no. You're right. You are right. But what you need though is that to make this jump, and so I'm telling, this is kind of for those people who are trying to decide. I think you really need to sit down and have that honest conversation with your spouse. And spouse, you need to be honest and say, I can support you in this, or I cannot support you in this right now. Don't say I can't support you in it. But if you don't think you guys are ready for it, for whatever reason it is, whether your marriage is not strong enough, whether you don't have a financial pocket to lean on for a little bit, whatever the situation is, I think that you does require some honesty, but you got to say why I don't think this is a good idea right now.
Yep.
As well as you say, yes, I do think this is a good idea right now. Like just don't nod and say, yeah, whatever you want to do, babe. I'm behind you 100%. Because if it is a strong marriage and it's a good marriage, when they ask, they're asking for an honest answer. It might not be what they want to hear. I promise you, I have not always been told what I want to hear. And sometimes I've been told what I want to hear, especially early in our marriage, as we're trying to figure out how to be married. Yeah, I was told what I wanted to hear, but it was not the right thing to tell me.
Right.
It actually led to some bad decisions that we wish that we hadn't made, but they're done. We made them. We've learned. We moved on. But you need that support, because the last thing you need is when it goes bad is for the other person to be able to say, I told you so.
Yep.
I knew this was a bad idea. No, we agreed. We agreed that this was what we were going to do. And if it's not a good idea, we agreed that it was a good idea, and we're going to pull through this together, not you pointing the finger saying, yeah, I didn't think we should have done it. Because that will destroy your marriage.
And your business.
And owning a business. Yeah, and your business. Yeah. But having a small business is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for the lighthearted, for sure. And if I truly believe, if I would say to anyone, if the other, whether it's the man or the woman taking the job, but if the spouse is not willing to pitch in, I don't know if it's for you. Because, I mean, and even our kids, and y'all know too, like our kids are great. I mean, if we need help, they know all hands on deck.
Yep.
You're about to do whatever we need to do. And our kids have been by our side many times. For me, it's not really complicated because it's how I was raised. So not saying it's right or wrong, but I was raised in the same atmosphere. Things got tough. You went to work.
Yeah.
Yep. We spent many a days on the farm working when probably a lot of people in my life were doing other fun things. And
I was going to say, I remember cleaning y'all's chicken feeder pans before school.
Well, yeah, that was part of it. If
Yeah.
you were a friend.
I mean, that was,
you had
it's
to work
just
the chicken house.
how we were raised, man.
Try being a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Those snacks weren't free.
But yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, that was
you
my
want to date my
life,
daughter? You're gonna catch
and
biddies.
I have a great. I would say, like, I have a great work ethic.
Amen.
Like, I'm not scared of work. I probably work too hard sometimes, being a female. My grandmother would agree with that if she was alive. And that's okay. Like, I don't mind it. But I know a lot of people in my life who, if their husband went down this road, I don't know if it's something that they would want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and because it is a hard job daily, and you don't know what's coming your way on any given day. And there's a lot of times I do say, Travis, do you need anything? No, and I can't build a cabinet. I mean, I don't know anything. I can clean all day long. I can do stuff, but no, I don't know how to build a cabinet.
And as much as we appreciate the help, I think most people in our situation would agree that we feel bad that we have to ask for it sometimes.
Yeah.
Because Because here's the other side of it that, Tammy kind of hit on it and it made me think of is that, we as the financial, like Mitch carrying the financial load, so to speak, that doesn't negate or minimize at all what is being done at home so that we can go and do that part.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's why that comes back to the supportive role, that you got to have the supportive role on both sides, because I need you to understand that in order for me to do this business and to get it going, it's going to take 7 days a week, 12, 14-hour days. And I need you to understand that I'm not going to make it home for dinner all the time, or I'm not going to be able to help with all the school projects, and I'm going to need you to do more than your fair share at home. But if you're the one that's out there doing the work, you got to recognize and remember the work that is being done at home. That's not free labor. That's not something that's easy to over. That if you had to pay somebody else to do that, there's a significant cost associated with it.
Absolutely.
Price somebody to clean your house. Price a private chef. Price laundry services. Price, all the things that your spouse does do to keep the house running, so that you can chase this dream.
And in our situation,
you got to have that.
You have to. In our situation, I tell people all the time, I hadn't paid a bill in 20 years, and all I do is make cabinets. That's it. I don't do any accounting. Tammy does all our accounting, all the bill paying, and she, she handles, making sure the kids are where they need to be and everything going on. And she's got her own business that she runs, I don't know how in the world she does it. Because
I ask the same question all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's more of a, like I couldn't emotionally deal with it. You know what I mean? Like I can measure a piece of wood and say I need 12 inches. I can go cut it. That's not a problem. And I don't care if it's $1 million house or one small vanity. To me, it makes no difference whatsoever what I'm doing, because I'm comfortable with that. But now if I got to start keeping up with all of our purchases and our taxes and all of that stuff that actually runs the business in the background, man, we'd be so broke right now.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, and everybody that thinks I'm sexist for saying this, I don't care. But there's a reason why women take care of like the house and the family. It's because God designed them to do it better than we do.
Yeah, we would suck at it.
I'm not capable of doing it. I mean, now if something happened to Kim and I had to do it, I would figure.
My kids are terrified.
Yes, they are. But I would figure some of it out. But I'm not going to be the emotional support that the kids need. I'm not going to. I mean, that's why God designed a family to be a man and a woman. It's designed to be both sides of the aspect, because we're equal but yet very different.
That's it. Bingo.
And Travis definitely has always, because I have a full-time job, and then I come home and do the mom stuff, and if Travis needs me, I do that stuff, and I do just handle it. And I think that's just my personality, is I just handle it. Doesn't matter. I can be in the bed sick the one time a year that I am, and if something needs to be handled, then I'm going to handle it. That's just my personality. It's not easy by any means.
Could you imagine? We didn't have. They had COVID together at the same time.
Yeah, we almost died together.
Like they were almost
you
dying
would probably
together,
die.
right?
I would pull through, but you would definitely die.
Because I'm a terrible patient. I'm a big giant sissy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like I walk in, she's like, "You feel bad?" I'm like, "I need egg drop soup." She goes, "Crap, it's bad. It's bad." Like, could you imagine both of us having COVID, as much attention as I require? No. Oh my God.
No, I don't know. It's I don't even want to go down your sick road, but and that's one thing. Travis gets sick.
I heard. Is there something?
Hey,
is there a little bit of
I'll say this
agreement on that side?
I'll say
Mitchell,
this: when I'm
Mitchell
down,
does it. Go ahead.
When I'm down, I'm down. Now I'll come in with a sore throat and stuff, not feel good. But when mentally, when I've decided, hey, I'm out, 100% out. I don't. There's nothing, no in between.
Yeah.
He's not a whiny sick
and
guy.
Travis has had those days now.
Yeah. He's not a whiny sick guy.
I'm pitiful.
He will sit in his recliner and just like look like a zombie. That's pretty much what he does. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" "I think I'm gonna die." I was like, "Okay, do you need anything?" "No, I think I'm gonna die." That's it. That was COVID for him anyway, or getting lost in the barn.
Wow.
He didn't know where he was. He got lost. I found him in the barn, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He said,
Yeah.
"I don't know how I got here." I'm like, "Well, let's go back into the house together." That man straight
We
failed.
have a house.
Yeah.
There's our house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were not in good shape. We thought we were going to meet
Yeah,
our maker
that sounds
that
terrible.
week. So
That sounds terrible. But I will say, no matter what, Travis has always also been the person, especially later in our marriage, that he's very supportive of everything I do. He recognizes everything I do, and he helps. So if we need to cook dinner, if we need to, the kids swear they've never seen him put the dishes away until
I
recently.
get so
but it's not
frustrated
true.
by that. Like Sailor Walter, she's like, "Dad, you know how to do that?" I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
you.
"Yes,
Yeah.
I know how to take stuff
Yeah.
out of the dishwasher and put it
Yes.
back where I choose not to do it very often, but I do
Right.
know how to do this." I mean,
But he's always supportive and helps around, the house. And, if we need to put clothes up at 10 o'clock at night, then that's what happens before we go to bed, So I'm definitely don't want the time to pass and not say that, Travis does recognize.
the only thing
Everything
I
that I
can't
do. And
support
he
is
makes
coming in,
sure
getting
the
ready to go to
kid
bed, and there's
sees.
no sheets on the bed. That's the only thing I can't be in support of.
Yeah, me either.
I'm like,
Actually.
hey, you missed the boat here. Can we get sheets on by like 7? Like, tell me you need help putting the sheets on. I'll come help you, but don't wait till 10 o'clock. I'm ready to lay down.
So we're going down those roads on the podcast.
Nope.
we didn't.
Next
know-
question.
I'm
we
glad
didn't
you
know
went
that.
there.
Nope.
Glad you opened the door for me.
Nope. That door's closed. Moving on to door number 3. So, Tammy, what's the best thing about owning your own business?
Oh, hands down, the freedom to go, which I like to sit on the table saw.
Don't
And
give this away too much.
look.
We've got people fooled.
Look, I go sit on the table saw, and I can see my husband during the day. We get to see each other more than 2 minutes before, bedtime because he's gone or tired and all that kind of stuff. So, and getting to go just one day, you're saying, well, let's go do this. Okay, like you said, you're going to have to do the work later, but, during the week when everybody's, working, you get to go do stuff. You're not tied down to one place. You get to see different houses, meet different people. I just like the freedom that it gives our whole family, not just me, not just Mitchell, or not just the kids. It's just a freedom to kind of enjoy life a little bit more. You work hard, but you also play hard, so just not this
There
year.
is definitely some stress alterations
Yes.
that come.
Us either.
That comes with owning your own business. Like there is a trade off,
Yes.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you have to acknowledge that, and it is. I think you're right that the freedom is a great thing. That you've got something that you got to make. The odds are you can probably make it. Like you don't have to ask a whole lot of permissions, and most of the times, if it's something hard that you can reschedule, you can usually work that out with the client. That all comes back to some of the stuff Mitch and I have been talking about is like that client relationship, and building that relationship and having a strong relationship and the honesty and the integrity that comes with that, so that when I have to call and say, look, I didn't realize that my kid had, a play this morning. I've lost a little bit of time. I need to push your install back just a little bit so that I can make that play. Is that going to work for you? Mm-hmm. And I think your approach is another thing. Like not, hey, client Steve, we're moving your install back 3 days. Thank you for understanding. No, it's, hey, I am a parent and I have a child and this is what I want to do. And this is the reason why I would like to delay your install. Does that work for you?
Right.
I am giving them a choice, but at the same time, I'm trying to pose in a way where I really need them to agree that this is good for everybody. Like, You know, not that I'm trying to force my will on them, but that this is better for me because if I'm happy, you get a better install. You know, you get a better product. I mean, because everybody's had somebody show up at their house to do some work who didn't want to be there, and it shows.
Yeah.
Or you bought a car that was built on a Friday, like
Yeah.
you can tell. Like there's just some aspects of that you
There's
know
hey.
that there was something was not going on
Yeah.
here that this person was very happy about.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a lot of truth to that car being built on Friday, by the way. I'm just saying. But the one you look out for.
not that you were like in the car manufacturing.
No. But the one you look
line
out
of
for
business.
is the one that was built the day before we got off for Christmas break. Now, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. You need to watch those.
I think I'd be worried about the one that was built after coming back from Christmas
Yeah,
break as well.
really not
Yeah.
doing it for a week.
Yeah.
When all the machines are being fired back up.
Yeah.
What about you, babe? What do you think? What's a benefit of owning the business or being self-employed?
I don't know if I would necessarily benefit, but I think just seeing Travis happy,
Well, that's
it's
a benefit
probably-
that everybody enjoys. What do you mean?
it's true. The kids and I are ecstatic that you're happy most of the time. No, really, it's seeing you happy and seeing the pride that you get and the pride I have for you whenever you finish that project and you do that install. You know, yes, I'm your biggest cheerleader to keep you up, but I'm also your biggest cheerleader to let the world know, you know, what you are capable of, because I already know.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you can do, even before you do it or before you probably know it. And I've told you many times, you know, I'm pretty sure there's most things you can figure out and do as long as you try. And
Yeah,
put your
least
mind to
favorite
it.
line in my life. Hey, babe, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. Like that. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
And you do.
Nope. I cannot fly. Yes, you can.
Yeah, you'll figure
You
it out.
could.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, you could if you needed
that
to.
shingle on the top of the roof, that ridge cap that you need to fix, you can fix
Got
it.
it.
I don't walk on roofs. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I love it and I hate it at the same time. I can't get this project done before the deadline. Yes, you can. Okay. Yes, I
But
can.
it's been proven
I
true.
love
'cause
that.
You have to.
The things that I
So,
really can't
yeah.
do, I hate it. I'm like, I can't do. I really can't do that.
I'll say the freedom too. I mean, for us, we knew going into 2023, this was what we went into it saying, this is our rebuild year. This is for us, and it may go beyond a year, you know. But for us, we knew we were willing to take this sacrifice. We were willing to buckle down, and you know, if that meant spending less, if that meant spending more time at home, if that meant the trip stop, you know, it's unfortunate at times for the kids because you know they're still kids, so a lot of times they don't understand, you know, no, we're not doing that today, or no, we're not going there, or we're not buying that, or you know, whatever the case may be. Because I mean, yeah, the kids, I love them to death, and it's our fault, but they get most everything they need and mostly what they want. And so for us going into 2023, we said, you know, this is the beginning of a rebuild for us, you know, and it's almost feels like starting from the ground up. And, you know, I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that because I can see the future. I can see where the road takes us. I feel like Travis definitely has more fear about things than I do. And I just don't, there's so many things I don't worry about that he does.
Do you notice that the older you get, like the more, like it's weird, like things that I never thought I would worry about. It's a concern. Like for me, like everything falls into, it's a weird dynamic. Everything falls into usages, right? Like the door it's so weird. Like a door getting closed. I'm like, well, that's one more time less before that door's got to be replaced.
Oh yeah.
Like,
he's turned into Kenneth Burkhalter.
Hey.
Right before my eyes.
I feel like
Well,
Kim
the odds
and
of him
Mitch.
ever hearing this are none.
Yes.
Like there's no chance of him ever hearing that line. But it's weird. Like as we get older, the things that we care about and the things that we watch, like I feel like it really, really changed. Like at dinner last night, somebody asked me, I can't remember. Oh, we were talking about another couple, and I was like, they're only 36, which is 4 years younger than me. And he's like, I was like, man, I'd like to be 46 again. He's like, what would you do different? And I was like, probably nothing, actually. I was like, but I'd like to be as cheap as I am now then. Like, I would like to watch $1 at 36 like I watch it now.
Yep.
Well, it's like, women always say, gosh, I wish I was as skinny now as I was back then.
Yeah.
It's the same concept,
Yeah.
But you can't live like that.
I was fatter then, so I'm not worried about that.
But definitely the freedom too. I mean, for us, it's if you're not home, you're not getting paid. So we don't travel a whole lot right now.
Same.
When we do, it's like over Christmas, we went down to Greenville, and Travis went for we worked it out. I mean, it was a strategic plan of finish this job. Okay, we're gonna go down now, and then he's gonna come back in 2 days.
We're gonna take 2
cars. We
cars.
gotta fit everything in with those 2 days. We gotta take 2 cars. But that's the only way. And for our kids, especially Carson, our little one, I say little one, she's almost 15, but she's all about tradition. So we have to. There's no surprising her, And so for her to hear like, well, Dad's not gonna be there the whole week, well. Why? I don't understand. Well, Dad's got to go to work, Dad's going to let us stay, so we can spend time with Nana, my mom, and that's part of the blessing is he is also as supportive because we are allowed to and able to do things like that. Now, we would have loved for him to have been there the whole time, but that's part of owning your own business. Like you can't be away.
Yeah. And I was going to say I bet if you looked at it though, minute by minute throughout the year, there's a lot. I think we spend, and I mean us, but probably true for you guys too. Throughout the year, you probably do spend a little bit more time with the kids than you would if you had a regular job, but it may be 10 or 15 minute sections at a time. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely different.
That's
right.
It's
definitely different.
It's not. I'm home for a whole week without leaving. It's not that because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Is I spend a lot of time with our kids, but I think that we spend a lot more time with them, or maybe even just a little bit more time with them in small sections. We may spend the first half of a Friday together versus we would have been at work, but then, Easter or Christmas or something like that, instead of having a whole week off, we don't have to do anything. We trade it off, those days throughout the year to now Christmas, I need to go work, I have to go back and work a few days, but, it's just, it's a lot of small little trade-offs. And some kids will understand that, and some of them won't.
Well, because that's the part, and that's why we say it's a rebuilding year. Because I think that's the part about a small business that takes so long to get over the hurdles of buying equipment that really never ends. I'll be honest with you, like
never
you're
ends.
Always.
It's every day.
Easy, ladies.
Every
easy.
day.
Every
day.
A little bit of a nerve struck there, apparently.
Okay.
But we're using this stuff. We're wearing it out, and then Mitch and I both. One of our big, and I have a question here to ask you later. But one of our big things is improving efficiencies. Like you're constantly looking for a way to improve efficiencies, and part of that is buying equipment. Mm-hmm. A machine that lets me do this process and shaves off 5 minutes of it per time that I do that equals more time at home. It equals me getting home sooner or faster eventually.
Well, I will say sorry not to interrupt you, but starting the business when we started originally, or even going into the cabinet side, I think I was a little naive on the needs.
Well, definitely on the remodel business.
Travis has a lot of wants, too.
Yeah.
But most of them are needs, I will say, and I've learned a lot about the tool industry and what a good tool does do, and I do understand it now. But I was definitely naive in that of knowing what it was going to
Amen.
take. And it does. It takes, I mean, just when you think that, ooh, okay, we're doing
here.
good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the business account is building up. We're getting there. And then we got to go spend $500 or whatever the case may be on tools. And usually it's probably more than that. But, and then it's like, okay, now we're starting out, you know.
I'd
and
love
it's
for
like,
it to be $500 at this point.
Amen.
Yeah.
But are we ever going to, that's the scary part for me.
Same.
You know, so as much as I am the cheerleader and I do support it and I always will, because I have pretty much always had your back, but where is the point where you do get the business where it's supposed to be? You have the tools that you mostly need, that you can build, you know, might not be everything that you want, but that you're in that stable place that you're comfortable, you know? So I don't know. We're not there, and we're not close to there. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see. And I guess if the podcast is still going years down the road, we'll see where we are.
Yeah.
But that's hard, and I was definitely naive. And
I'm with you. I'm with you there. And my thing is, if we finally do get all the tools, then we're going to start over because they're going to start breaking. And you're going to wear them out.
And that's
you're
true.
going to have to start buying them again. And so it seems like, you know, I'm with you. Every time
But
the
the thing
business
is-
account
but
gets
the thing about it is
there, it's like, I got to buy something. It's like, why?
But the better
Yeah.
the tool that you buy, the more time you put in between those replacements.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things like Mitch and I have had to talk about. Like, you don't have to buy the best tool that there possibly is, but buy the best tool that you can afford for now. And then don't put yourself in the hole to buy a tool.
I agree.
But buy the best tool that you can, and then the quality of that tool you're hoping is going to delay it needing replacement. The hard part, especially for me, like my personality, is to be sure that I wait until that tool needs replacing versus when I want to replace it.
Yeah.
Like that's a big hole there that can be overlooked.
Say having one of the benefits of having the business is I think helped Travis with that aspect of money.
Oh, it's definitely made me cheaper.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Well, you know, it does. And I've always been the cheap one. But
what are you shaking
Travis,
your head for? Hold on.
She doesn't agree.
Hey, you do know a
She does not
podcast is
agree.
mostly audio, right? When you shake your head, most people are not going to know why you're disagreeing.
It was
So
funny.
what's
it
going
was
on?
funny because you said you've gotten cheaper, and Mitch is like, yeah, haha, like he has. And that's
Nice.
a negative Red Rider.
I mean, you
Red
know.
Rider.
Yeah.
You got to live a little.
Or is it just I have the pockets just moved of where you're willing to spend money?
Yeah. I think
I think
that's what happened.
no. Tammy still disagrees.
Is that what no.
Well, you know.
Tammy has gotten cheaper.
But what?
Tammy has gotten
Well,
cheaper.
somebody has to apparently.
Yes, Tammy's gotten cheaper. So.
But so what we were saying is that, you know, so building your own business, building a small business, it takes a long time to like get it to the point where, like, it takes a long time to get it to the point where you can you can sustain regiments. And what I mean is like that you can that you can take a paycheck. Say you want to pay yourself $1,500 every week. All right. Let's just use round numbers because I'm not good at math. But you want to pay yourself $1,500 a week, regardless of whether you got paid that week or whether or not, right? Because you got two lines of money. You've got your business line of money that gets paid every 3, 4, 6 weeks, depending on kind of how you're set up and like what you actually do. Like Mitch is a full-fledged cabinet shop that does, you know, big cabinet jobs. So your actual paydays are more spread out than mine are, but they're bigger paydays.
Yeah.
Whereas mine are a little closer together, but they're not as big of paydays. So however your business is set up, so you've got that income stream coming in, right? But I've got this other line over here that's a problem called my life bills. I've got my mortgage. I've got car payments. I've got insurance. You got all that stuff coming in. And it's how do you balance that out, right? Well, a normal job, you get a paycheck every 2 weeks or every week or however you want to, however it's set up. And you know what that rate is and you know when it's coming, so you know how to budget it, right? So the goal is to get the business where it pays you the same way, right?
That would be lovely.
And that way you can...
What is happening?
Right?
Yeah. That would be lovely.
Know. He's got trains that come by and gongs, and he's got his own sound effects over there.
Buddy.
But that takes a long time, and it takes like we've got a daughter in college, and like trying to explain to her because she thinks it takes more money in a week than it actually takes her to survive, right? So like I've got her down to $100 budget a week, and that ain't nothing. $100 is nothing now like it used to be. But I'm like, you evaluate your budget like that's the only $100 that you have coming in, and I messed up.
Yeah,
I messed up. That's going.
You might as well just clap.
I looked at. Good job, Tammy. You got me. You got me. You messed me up sideways. I mean, I don't even know where I was going with that.
$100.
Okay, first of all,
$100.
Tammy,
That's where you are.
You're going to need to be a little easier on that keyboard. Because
is that the keyboard that she bought you?
No, that's her laptop keyboard. But
it's not that loud.
It ain't gonna survive.
But she's using the mic on the laptop, so it's like
okay.
Oh,
I didn't even hear it. That's weird.
Yeah, you ought to be in a set of these things, boy.
Yeah, you can hear it.
I got the cheap
But
stuff.
yes, I'm a little
irritated
hot.
the tool
I've
gods.
seen what he's
You
been.
must
You ain't got
now
cheap
be
stuff.
smeared with the holy grease of disdain.
That's
again, he's not cheap.
yeah, that's right. Only the best. Only the best.
Again.
Yeah, I had to turn the air off, and I don't know what it is in here, but it's not 64 like it was. But no, this is sunburn because
Because he doesn't wear a hat or believe in sunscreen.
Because I've been on the roof
apparently.
all day.
All right, so let's circle.
Travis, you were talking about
Let's circle.
having the money to
You put our
upgrade.
daughter on.
Yeah, so we put her on $100
We say
budget.
that.
Put her on a
It's our
$100
money, but-
budget so that
Yeah.
I told her, I said, you need to learn how to live poor. If you don't learn how to live poor, you'll never know what it's like to live with some money.
Right.
And so I was like, so you got this $100 budget, and it basically consists of go get gas on Sunday night, whether you need it or not, top off, right? So you spend $10 on gas. Well, let's say $20 in gas because Biden's in gas is high. So $20 in gas.
Amen.
And then you need a little bit of groceries. Let's say you spend another $30 on groceries, right? So now we're at $50. And I said, so when you're buying your groceries, you get $50 cash back when you buy your groceries. There's your $100 budget. You go to the end of the week. Now you have cash. You can't go back to your card anymore. You just have the $50 cash to spend. You got it tangible. You can see it. You spend it. And then at the end of the week, whatever you don't spend, you put it in an envelope. The next week, you start the same things over. You don't start the week over the next week pretending you got $120. You start the next week over pretending you got $100. That's all you got. And try to explain to her that eventually that envelope is going to build up. So when you have an oops, you have an uh-oh, instead of going to your actual checking account, because she does work, she works while she's in college, instead of going to the checking account to draw money, you actually have a little mini savings account over here that's not on the books, and you kind of draw from that little slush fund when you need a dress for a sorority event, or you want to go to a better dinner with a group of girls, or whatever it is. You can go to that slush fund, and you've never actually affected your actual savings or your checking account and your actual savings.
Right.
Yeah.
But getting a kid to understand that these days, it's hard. It's really, really hard because they see us like I never saw. Well, my parents lived on credit cards and then paid cards at the end of the month. But as a child, I just saw this card swiping, right?
That's it.
I didn't see the bill payment process
Yep.
or what happened. So what did I do as a young adult? I just swiped a card. Yeah, I did the same thing, and then I couldn't figure out how to pay the cards, which ended us in a bankruptcy at, how long have we been married? Like 5 or 6 years? But it put us in a bankruptcy, where we were so upside down. And the military didn't do a good job either. I mean, because everybody sees you as a military individual and you're getting a steady paycheck. They'll give you loans out the wazoo, at 25% interest, and you don't understand interest. I mean, you don't have any clue what that means. So you go down this road, and then you're trying to do this on this side where you're trying to build a business. You can't operate that way. You have to operate in almost in senses of cash, like cash only.
Yeah.
Like and you gotta process it that way in order to get a business to the point where it's soluble and you can draw a steady paycheck, and so that your bills are not affected, so you live a normal life as a self-employed individual.
Yeah, and it's
hard.
There's several ways, and like I said, I'm not here to give anybody financial advice, but I'll tell you this: research how you want to have your business listed, whether it be a S corp, a LLC, whatever. We do it different than Charlie did it, and there's no right or wrong way or whatever. Whatever way somebody does it, they're going to tell you that's the best way to do it. But you are you, and you do things how you see fit to do it. But yeah, it is. It's something.
Personally, I would advise you sit down with a CPA.
Yeah.
I personally would advise sit down with a CPA, because I've learned a lot since we've hired one that I wish I'd have known years ago.
Yeah.
I really do.
But as far as what to spend, and again, we do cabinetry, so we're going to be talking about tools. But let's say you're a hay farmer, or whatever it is. You have to look at your income and outgoing and stuff, and it's scary, man, because as you see how much outgoing you actually have, and like here, I never knew it, and then finally Tammy was like, "Do you have any idea at all what our bills are every month?" And I said, "No, I have no idea." And she told me, dude, and I was like, "What? Like, how is that even possible?" And she said, "This is just to keep everything going. This doesn't include."
Dude, I'm with you. I recently got involved with the bills, and I was like, Verizon? What, $500? What the heck? I mean, how many lines do we have? What is going on here? I mean,
and that's why I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't do that and run the shop. I would be. You realize how much of a nervous wreck I would be. Just
Like
sitting
me.
there.
Well, everything would be
That's
late.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, everything would be late if I had to do
Stressed
it.
every day of our life.
Yeah.
And
Tammy's over there like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, well, we had someone come in that was working for us, and they ended up seeing some of my tax paperwork, and they saw what our gross sales were for the year, and they kind of got a little snarky because gross sales looks amazing. It's like,
Looks
wow,
great.
if
That looks
this is
great.
what you're making, and you're like, oh no, homeboy, you start off that cut it in half. Start off cutting it in half.
Wait till you see the deductibles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cut it in half, and then you start taking out bills, because half is supplies for the jobs. I said, then you start taking off monthly bills. I mean, you're talking about insurance. You're talking about workers' comp. You're talking about your shop payment, your vehicle I mean, you're not. And so I said, this is the bottom line. If you want to see it, look at the whole thing. And he's like, dang. I was like, yeah, exactly. So there's just so much that you have to keep up with. And
Yeah, I actually showed him.
Takes a lot.
I showed him what we made that year as far as what most people would consider their W-2.
right.
Or their net income, and it was less
To what
than he
paid.
made. You know what I
So-
mean? Like as a W-2 on paper, he made more money than I did, and that was it. That wrapped up all that talking and everything. And but he doesn't get to claim things we claim and all that stuff. But I'm just saying, it's like, man, if people only knew the amount of sacrifices that we made for others, and you guys are probably going to be there at some point. The way Travis is going, and look at, if you back up 3 years, you know, he was making, I don't know, some doohickey in his garage, you know, and next thing you know, Kim, you got a shop
You know
space.
me, the doohickey maker.
The doohickey maker.
Next thing you know, you got a shop space. Next thing you know, here comes this, and now you can do 1 or 2 more projects, and before long, depending on how you decide to run it, what you guys decide to take on, before long, you're going to be sitting back going, I'm maxed out. I can't do anything else, you know.
Well, the goal is still by 45 to not be, is to have a team. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, even when I was in the remodel, the remodel plan was by 45 not to be hanging tile. Like,
Yep.
We wouldn't have made it to 45 with a remodel.
You'd have been
I'd
broke
died.
down, man.
I'd have died.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost died yesterday. I dropped the cabinet on my head, but that's a whole nother.
Either we would have
Another
died or
story.
we would have probably
I
killed
got
each
a
other. I don't know
boo-boo.
which.
But if you look,
And everything.
You always
Yeah.
getting boo-boos, man. What's wrong with you?
Well, I'm clumsy. That's why.
It's crazy though to sit
Ray
back
Jr.
and you guys are going to go down. You guys are definitely going to go down. I mean, I'm seeing it coming. You're going to go down the same road, but you're going to sit back and be sitting at supper one night, and you're going to get a phone call from one of your employees. You know, and it's scary, but at the same time, like it drives you more. The guys that I have working here, they drive me more, because there's a lot of times, man, I promise you, if I'd have been here by myself, I would have went to the office, kicked back in this chair, pulled up YouTube, and started watching videos. But I'm
'Cause
like,
you
well, I
get
can't do that
overwhelmed.
because they're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until
yeah.
Tammy kicked the door in and said, "What the hell are you doing?
What
sitting
are
here?
you
We
doing?
got stuff to do."
Hey,
We
remember those
can't buy
bills?
a loaf of bread.
Help!
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really.
Get off your butt. You know,
Yeah.
but Tammy said something. You know, what the other side of that piece is what people don't understand with, building a small business is the actual final income part of it, and how hard it is to get loans.
Yeah, my goodness.
because-
yes.
To get more equipment. I need a new trailer. Get a loan. Well, you didn't make any money on paper last year,
Yep.
and
supposed
but
to be.
because of the stupid government regulations, I don't need to make any money on paper. I don't want to make money on paper.
Yeah.
Right.
I need it to do this way, but now I need it to have money so that I can do this. It's a constant fight with the system, so to speak, and then how long it takes to get to the point where you show profitable to the point where you can buy a house or buy your own shop space. I mean, we were just talking about this last night about what we're going to do about, in the next 5-6 years about not renting a shop. I mean, when I look at, that $24,000 a year goes to shop rent, not
wow.
my own shop rent
Right.
for somebody else. And that's like,
Yeah.
that hurts. That's
Yep.
not very fun. That, man, I wish I could drop the $24,000 on my own shop payment. Then you go to the bank and you say, well, look, I'm paying this guy $24,000 a year. Why couldn't I take that same $24,000 and pay it on my own property? What, because you don't make enough money? Well, it's funny because I'm able to pay him every month.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
was
not
like,
what they want. The government
But right.
wants you. If you have it on paper to be able to buy something, then you're having to pay the government a bunch of money to get there. So the government knows what they're doing.
Right.
Sorry, they've got
tell
it.
your mom and them we said, hey,
Yes, my
just
mother.
doing a
Hang on
podcast.
one moment, please. But that's what happens. If you don't show profit, then they're like, well, you're not going to be able to buy anything. So they know you're going to have to show profit in order to make it. So, they kinda got
But
you
yet I've
trapped.
done this. I've done this a whole year.
Yep. Yep.
The bank ain't come got the house. I've got all my vehicles still. I paid rent at the shop. He ain't throw me out yet. But yet
Right.
you say I don't have enough income to buy my own place. But-
Exactly.
so you would rather me not get an asset that you could take from me later.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I do default, you would get this asset, right? You would not rather take that risk. You'd rather just let me keep giving it away to somebody else. It's so frustrating.
It is.
The way
And
the whole process.
I have always said this. It really opened my eyes. And for anybody wanting to start a business, you better get ready, buddy, because you're going to get not necessarily attacked, but you're going to have roadblocks every avenue that you go down. If you want to
get used to the word no and like it.
If you want to pay somebody under the table and do all your dealings in cash under the table, you're going to hit roadblocks. They figured out that people do that. Now you can't prove your income. You can't buy a house. You can't buy a car. If you decide to go legit and you want to legitimately have federal unemployment ID, tax ID numbers and all this paperwork and insurance and workers' comp, you better get ready because they're going to audit you every year on your workers' comp. They're going to try to squeeze every dollar they can. You filling out paperwork is going to take days to do. It's almost like they hate that the four of us can live our lives with our own two hands, making our own decisions and being 100% in charge of what we do. They hate it. And it don't matter what business you run. We have to, I don't know if Tennessee has it or not, but we have a business privilege tax here that we have to pay because we own a business. That's it.
Every year.
And I asked the lady, I'm like, where does it go? Who gets it? Does it go to improve roads or schools or bridges? Oh, no, it just goes into a fund.
Just gets cycled into the general fund.
Just because we own a business. Like,
for the privilege of owning your own business.
Yes.
For the privilege of sweating your own butt off and doing your own work and, your own calluses and not getting on the government dole. Yep, you get to pay us you get to pay us a tax for that.
And we run our business 100%.
We were that way, but we changed our we changed our filing. We actually changed from an LLC to a sole proprietorship because of the way that some Tennessee laws are that protect us. There's some Tennessee laws that actually give us the same protection as an LLC. Mm-hmm. That basically, because of the lack of employees and what we actually do, that we don't really need those. We don't need the redundancy.
Yeah.
So as a sole proprietorship, we no longer have to pay that essentially that privilege tax to the state of Tennessee.
Right. Yeah.
But you hit on a thing too that's like, so you've got a choice, right? I can kind of go in a way that's illegitimate. Like I don't need a federal employee number, and I can hire some people and I can pay them cash, right? But if I do that, but you're also rolling the dice. Eventually, one of them is going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then so if you don't have a federal employee ID number, then you're not recognized as a legitimate business. So if you're not recognized as a legitimate business, you're not able to obtain workman's comp insurance. So if you're not able to obtain workman's comp insurance, when one of those employees does eventually get hurt, you have nothing to help provide coverage and relieve yourself from the pressures. So you're on your own. So now that you're on your own, if you can't afford that, you're going under.
Yep.
Right.
Or you're being sued, or you're losing. You're essentially losing your business. Like you're either going to go millions of dollars because I don't know. Have you looked at what an aspirin costs you in a hospital? Like, I mean, let them lose a finger. I mean, which is why you have a $8,000 saw stop. That should that's one of the things. Have you seen the new Fedler saw, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one that doesn't require a cartridge and still drops the blade out of the way. It's pretty cool. But I mean, but that's a $20,000 saw.
Well, we'll get there.
But you take those. I mean, but that's one of the reasons why you take those steps to get to buy that saw and to improve employee safety is because you do have that liability, right?
Oh yeah.
But if you choose to go down the illegitimate path, yeah, you're gonna win. I'm not gonna lie, right? You're gonna win until you don't.
Yep.
Eventually, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose that. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So
when you're
consider what you're doing.
And when you're 15 years deep on trying to hide everything under the table, and they do catch you, buddy, I guarantee you, it's not going to be. And that's one thing that Tammy was. It's not like I'm some huge liar or anything like that. I mean, I may stretch the truth every now and then, but she goes, "We have to run this business legitimately or it will not succeed." And she said it's not going to, and she was coming from it like God's not going to bless this business if we try to cheat, the people out of whatever. We may not agree with their rules, which obviously we don't, but we have to be legitimate. We don't lie on paperwork. We don't lie on this. And, that's just something that we chose to do. But then it's also a constant battle on watching your income every year and making sure that it is the same or greater, every year. And we can play with our deductions. We can play with our depreciation. We can play with all that and kind of make it work out right. But we don't claim, like what we did this year was we didn't claim as much as we could for legitimate deductions because it would have put us, a little bit less income than we had last year. So
but you're in that window now. You're in that window where you need to show, you need to show the gains.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't.
Whereas I am still in the window where I can show as much loss as I possibly can.
Yeah, you've already got your house.
Right. You have a home.
I want to show every loss possible. Yeah.
We did not plan on losing ours here. And needing to buy one now.
The guy that we're renting from, he doesn't care. He's like,
right.
Yeah, here it is. Here's how much it is a month. You can stay there as long or as short as you want. He doesn't care, But, buddy, you're going to need a car before it's over with, and you're going to need your credit changes, man. I mean, everything changes when you go and try to do with the understanding that the government does not like you doing this. They're not a fan of you being in control of your own, destiny, so to speak. They hate it, and we learned a lot about that coming up and getting started, and still learn. Every year we learn more and more about the way the whole influx of income, goes and everything that happens with that. But that's part of it. And somebody asked a while ago, I think it was Kim, said, when are we going to get to the point where we can settle, where we're just like, okay, we're there? And I got some bad news. I don't think you're ever there. I don't think now with the broad scheme of things, yes, you will get to where
Travis, you're never retiring.
Yeah, you're never going to retire.
Sorry.
But you'll get.
Well, it's funny because I was listening to another woodworking podcast, and the guys were like, "This was just this week," because I was looking for some inspiration, and they were like, "What would you do?" Well, I was trying to think of things to talk about on podcast, but they were like, "What are you going to do when you retire?" And there's some pretty famous guys in the woodworking YouTube podcast world, and he's like, this is what people do when they retire.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll just do a little less of it. He's like, people retire to do woodworking. He's like, so when I decide I'm going to retire, I'll just do a little less. But
yeah.
Choo-choo.
I hope we don't come off the rails.
There's our train break. Man, it seems like every one we get a train through here every time.
And it's not me. It's not me because everybody knows I can't play audio on cue, so it's not me.
That is a real one. But yeah, we're never going to be done improving. Now that may not mean buying large equipment, or may not mean hiring people, but we're never going to be done improving. Now I do think, and I actually believe that we're pretty much there now as far as just kind of being on cruise control. You'll know.
You buy a track saw and you'll be done.
Yeah, yeah. So, baby, we got to talk about a track saw later. It was Travis's idea. Anyway, moving on.
Can we push somebody out of the
cheap.
podcast?
It's like $1,100. Like it's cheap.
It's cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap.
Oh wow, that's cheap.
But see what?
That's a good buy.
I've got an advantage over you though, because sometimes Sensei will come in here and he'll make something really small for somebody else, and his idea was to give me a percentage of that. And he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna throw you $20. I'm gonna throw you $100. Whatever it is, depending on what he's making." Dude, that cash goes right in my wallet. And, it'll be a week later, and Tammy's like, I don't remember seeing you pull that cash out of the account. Where'd you get that cash from? I'm like, don't worry about that. I'll be hustling. Don't worry about my cash. And I'm over here.
Well, you remember last Friday when I was late? I was on the corner.
That's what I was saying. Have you
corner.
been to the west side or what? What's going on?
Don't worry about
What's funny is I would get in less trouble for working the corner than I would for hoarding money without permission.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Go work the corner.
And somebody...
Just as long as you share.
Right.
We had
That's all I care about.
See, again, as long as I don't hoard money,
Well, I'll tell you how it goes.
I share it.
I'll tell you how it goes in my house.
You want me to share?
We did a job for a guy, and he had misunderstood what the quote was, and so he's like, hey, how much I owe you? And I told him, and he was like, I don't think that's right. And I was like, oh, here we go, because he's a good friend of mine, right? And I'm like, here we go, man. And anyway, I said, well, that's what was in the email that I sent you. And he said, I thought you sent me an email with something else. And I'm like, okay, good. Okay. Now I can, he can just go back and look at the email. He calls me 20 minutes later because he's like, dude, you're right. You're absolute. I don't know where I got this number from, but you're right. And he said, problem is my loan is maxed out. I've been paying closing costs. I'm maxed out. It's been raining because he does dirt work. He said, I don't have any of that income coming in. It's Christmas time. He was finishing his house up, and he's like, I'll get with you first of the year. Okay, great. Well, anyway, time passes, and he pays. He comes over here, and he brings me cash. He owed me, what was it, $2,200, I think?
Something 24.
Something like that. Yeah, and 24, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. I figured she had it down to the penny.
Yeah,
know.
she knows. Trust me, she knows. So I had, in one stack, I had $2,000 of $100 bills, and my other hand, I had $400. And I was like, well, she goes, well, some of that, she said, Mitch, that's not just your money. We have to put that in the account. I'm like, what? Like it would time out, but like, it's been a couple of months. We've moved on. This is free money. She's like, it's not how it works. We have to put that in the account.
I've already written that off as a loss.
Like,
what do you mean?
We've been limping along. Now we got to, it's got to go. And trust me, it's not for anything fun. It's, pay the employees because they get mad when you don't do so.
Well, I've been limping for 4 weeks. I showed it like a cast.
Yes.
Can I please get a cast?
Yeah. So I held my hands out. I'm thinking she's going to get that $400, leave me this $2,000. Nope. Man, I've never seen her hands move that quick, but it was, and that money was gone. And I was like, golly.
Look, we've been friends for a long time, but I've never heard you say something so stupid in my life. I don't know why you think she would grab the smaller amount of money.
I don't know why you thought that you would get to keep any of that.
Because
money.
I was holding it,
and you know what?
I'm not going to lose.
He played on it. He got to go play.
I did. Look, I took my $400, and then I started looking, and Harbor Freight just released the brushless impact and the brushless. Yep, and the brushless drill, and I had a 25% off coupon.
Oh,
you bought a gun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I did buy a gun with it too. Yeah, I bought a shotgun. But anyway, yeah. So that money's gone now.
What did you buy for Tammy?
She got the $2,000.
$2,200.
Yeah, she got the $2,000.
She did not.
She can do with that what she pleases.
No, she can't.
But I handed it to you, and I said
she opted to put the whole thing in the account.
That's not my fault. I gave it to her. That's not my
hands off. Hands off.
Yeah.
Therapy session.
But yeah,
right, so I got a question, and I can't remember. I honestly can't remember because we've had so many off-air conversations trying to test and record and everything. So I can't remember if this has actually been captured on the podcast or not. But I have a question that's a little off topic, and I just have to know, Tammy, how you feel about this. That I know that you sold a vehicle at one point in time to a mutual friend of ours from back in the day that you were convinced was going to die, and it was on its last leg. And I've told Kim this story, so that's why she's grinning and laughing. But I know you were convinced that this vehicle was going to die any moment, and that there was no way that you could pass it on to your daughter because it wouldn't be good and safe to leave her on the side of the road. But yet I understand this vehicle still shows up at the shop from time to time with another 100,000 miles on it. And I'm just wondering if you still stand behind your decision that vehicle had to go.
Yes.
Or
yes,
do you wish that you'd have kept it?
This is one of those moments that we're probably going to have a knockdown drag out after this podcast, or we're going to need therapy after the podcast.
We can just do it right
now. He didn't say either way. He didn't say either way on this. I'm just asking.
Mitch, you in trouble.
I know it.
Not,
I'm petting the dog over here. I'm not worried about it.
He is not. He does not feel it necessary to be the person who comes and rescues you on the side of the road. It makes him irritated when you're stuck on the side of the road. And that car put me on the side of the road. And I'm probably not like Kim. She seems like she's really tough and buff. And I feel like I'm tough, but not on the side of the interstate by myself. I am not okay with that. And so I got put on the interstate twice one time a diesel was coming. It was just JoJo and I, and he was bottlenecking, and he ran off the road behind me where I'm at on the side of the road, and he came close to creaming me with my kid in there. So I'm thinking, I have a daughter that's 16 years old. She can't carry a pistol. She can't defend herself. Okay, and I'm going to put her in a vehicle that has put me on the side of the road. And I do carry. I hope we don't have liberal pansies listening. Sorry, but I would pop a cap in somebody's butt if they tried to hurt
Love
me.
that.
Okay, but she can't do that. So my thought, being the mom, is I'm not putting my kid in that car. So Adam must have some kind of better luck than me, because I was down 2 times within a small amount of time with like 270,000 miles. So, yeah,
And
I don't feel
makes
bad
that
about
so-
it. He's
What
a
makes
cop.
it so funny is her and I had, for those that don't know, we had this old Honda Pilot, and it's got a bazillion miles on it.
Loved it.
And
Was this on air? Did we talk about this on the podcast?
I
or
can't-
no?
I
Was this
can't
an off-air?
remember.
Did I bring up something I wasn't supposed
You're
to?
dead.
no. But yeah, he said, well, hey, we're coming up there to see him too, Tammy, by the way. We'll talk about that later. But anyway,
You can kill me when you get here.
Yeah,
yeah.
coming to Tennessee.
And I was like, we don't need to get rid of this car. We got a daughter that's about to start driving. And she's like, I'm not putting my daughter in that and putting her on the side of the road, which I get, I understand. But the funny part is Adam, we sold it to Adam on April Fool's Day. And last time I talked to him, he goes, yeah, y'all sold me that car on April Fool's Day. Well, guess what? Joke's on you, because that thing's still running.
He has the audacity to pull up to our shop and it's still running. I'm like, you could at least bring another vehicle over. I fed you so many times. You could make me feel better about this decision.
Yeah. And he's
Well,
he
that
just,
was the point of my. See, I got him in trouble, but that was the point of my question
he's
was
not
that
in
it's
trouble.
still running.
Yep.
It's still going.
Yep, it's still kicking. And
I would say, I laughed when he told me the initial story. He told me, and then he told me that Adam still slides in there sideways. Hey, Adam, I don't know if you're listening or not, but
Mr.
when he still slides up there sideways once or twice a month to say hey, and I was like, that is classic. Like you cannot beat the
look,
fact that you sold this vehicle in fear that it was going to just die,
And he
it
got-
won't.
like-
Now it won't die.
He got a steal on it. I should have made like another $1,500 off of it, but
oh, dude,
I'm
we sold it to him
thinking
for nothing, man.
So
And he'll
anyway,
get out and he'll kick the tires and he'll kind of pat it on the hood and he'll be like, well, it's still running like a top. And I'm thinking, God,
What you should have wrote him a line that said every 5,000 miles that it still survives, he owes you another like $100.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in perpetuity. That way you would have continued to win as long as he continued to win
And
with the car.
meanwhile, we're going any day now, really, to go pick up our oldest kid's new truck. And so she has pretty much saved every penny that she said she was going to save to go towards the purchase. She just hadn't been at work long enough, to save up the whole value. So we're, we're going to pay the rest of it.
That's
And it's
That
like,
was on my list of things to ask for updates for, was to ask how she was on the status of her truck. So
it's good. She's going to get it. And like I said, he got the title back. It was in his daddy's name, whatever. So it wasn't stolen or anything. But he's selling it, so he got the title put in his name. Yeah. But anyway,
it is family. So
we went over there, and she was all nervous and everything. And I said, okay, if you want it, And the guy was standing right there, and he's part of our family, so it's not like some stranger. And I said, well, you got to talk to him about what you're going to pay him. I said, now he wants this much, so how much are you willing to pay? And she kind of looking all nervous, and I was like, hey, you got to stand up and face him, like this is part of being an adult. And she threw a price out there, and he came back with another price, and they finally settled on one. But yeah, it was. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm wanting to say something about that Honda Pilot so bad. But I know at that point in time it'd probably been a sore subject. But
still is. It
but
still
I get
is.
where
I think it's
It's
still.
only been
yeah,
a week.
I get where
it still
Tammy's.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I had to ask. I mean, it was there, and I had you here, and it was fresh. It was a pretty fresh conversation that we'd had. So I was like, I have to hit it.
Yeah, well, you know the vehicles that we used to ride in. I don't think. See, I had one that was loaned to me through Mom. Remember, it was a 90. What was that? A 96 Cutlass Sierra Supreme Oldsmobile. You remember that one? That maroon 4-door Oldsmobile.
Oh, we remember
that was
it.
a long time ago. And then, but outside of that, I mean, I was on my own. You know, we had to buy our own cars, finance our own cars, and all that.
My first
Me
truck,
too.
my dad got a loan. He got a loan, and I thought I was hot stuff in that thing. I didn't know what a salvage rebuilt title was.
Yeah.
The splash.
Was that the Splash?
That was the Splash.
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember that thing.
Splash.
But I had to go to Bo Thagard's office every week and drop off my car payment. Like, I mean, the loan was in his name, but I had to make the payment every not every week, but every month. You know,
Hey,
when
that
it was
truck
due.
was solid.
Yeah, I
It
don't
was
think
solid.
you had. I don't think you had.
It was
a whole lot
solid
of-
till it wasn't. Till the started wheels
I
started
mean-
busting loose on it.
Well, you know, salvage rebuilt. I mean, it is what it is. But
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, it's not like you were kind to it.
Oh, no, we beat the hell out of that thing. What are you talking about?
do I remember? And I might be totally making this up. Do I remember us putting water in the back of that and riding around in the bed of it, or is that? Am I making that up? I might be making that up. Seems like we did that, but that might not have been yours.
It wasn't that truck. It was a different truck.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
That was the green and silver truck.
Yeah.
The Sierra.
That was the GMC
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I remember that one too.
with no exhaust.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No exhaust.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
So loud.
so let's pivot a little bit before we go. Because we can take this thing down memory lane too far, and nobody will really care about the memories.
Yeah.
We'll do that when you guys come up here. And yeah, by the way, Tammy, you're supposed to come up here
Thanks, hon.
soon. Yeah, like
It was a surprise.
you got like
I mean,
three. I think like in 3 episodes. I think we were going to try to plan it for like a big episode for like 10, and 10 is big at this point in time because
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to make it past.
It's a milestone.
But maybe maybe I can make it for 10. We got a weekend for spring break that we can coordinate. Maybe that'll work out. But we'll talk about it. So what? And I have to do this. Babe, I love you, but you're not my guest technically. I feel like they're the guests. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic. So I feel like I got to ask Tammy first. But so
I want to hear her answer first.
is there something that you need to ask us, or that you feel that you should tell people who are in a similar or looking at being in a similar situation of starting a small business, that like a piece of advice that you want to give, or something that like you feel like that you need to ask us that we should point out, like that we haven't kind of already, obviously that we hadn't already kind of hit. I hate to put you on, or whoever feels like they got something to say first can raise their hand. They can go first. I mean, it don't matter who, but
something that, like advice to give, or something that you haven't covered. Is that what you're asking here?
sure. Yeah.
So I guess no matter who is the main operator of the business, when we first started this, we were talking about us as the girls supporting the guys who own the businesses, and being their
Right.
support team, and being there for them, and being there for their needs. I believe whoever is running the main part of the business, it may be, I'm trying to find a good way to say this, just to make sure that, I don't know how to say this without being controversial, but both sets,
Nobody's gonna argue with you.
yeah, both
so-
sets,
okay.
both sets need to look at the needs of the other one. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I mean, because the business can get busy, and your time has to be in the business, and you've got to keep your business going. But at the same time, you've got to make sure that your family is running smooth, or your marriage. You don't want to put all your time and your focus into something that is fleeting, is at best. Like your business is that's what you do and everything, and that's how you make your money. But the reason you're doing business and you're working so hard is for family, and to be able to, you don't want to make it a big priority, the biggest priority, and then leave out this is making sense. I don't know if this is making sense. You want
Yeah,
to
what
make
you're-
both of them a priority.
Go ahead, translate. I'll let you translate, Mitch.
Yeah, because you're just in full disclosure, you're jumping around a little bit. It's not going to show up on the podcast, but you're jumping around. Your audio is jumping a little bit. So what she's saying is, don't spend. No, you're fine. Don't spend all your time feeding the business for your family and neglect the family.
Yes.
Like
that's what I'm trying
don't
to say.
spend. Don't put in 80 hours of work a week to try to provide so much for your wife and kids, and they're going to be so happy, and they never see you.
'Cause you're
And
important.
we were at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
we
guys
were
are very
at that
important.
crossroad.
Yeah, you're important. What you're doing is important for your families. But there is somebody on the other side that there's needs. I don't know what Kim's needs are, but I know what my needs are. And sometimes it feels like we put business priorities way ahead of that. And there's sometimes where I think I put family, what I'm doing at home with my family over what Mitchell needs. So there needs to be a balance. You need to talk to each other about your needs and just not make business be the center of your life, but business be what business is, and that's to take care of your life and your finances.
That was a mistake that I made. Is I caught myself, feeding this fire a little bit too much with good intentions.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I wasn't here avoiding my family, but my kids may not have seen that. My wife may not have seen that, and she was like, "Man, you're still there. You're going to be there late again, and all this." So yeah, and that's when we had a sit down and talk, and I said, "Man, I need help. I'm going to have to get some help in the shop." And so we hired a guy, and next thing you know, I was at home a few evenings, and now that we have two guys, I'm not so stressed about I've got to get all this stuff done today, right? Because I'm like, shoot, we can knock this out tomorrow. I'm done for the day, and I can go. And I've been at home a lot more, lately, in the evening times or whatever, or not. Even if I've been here, I haven't been here working, and stuff. And that that's a great point, because you have to watch that. I got caught up in that. Because, and again, coming from my end, it's like, man, we got to get this job done. I got to get this install done. This builder, I cannot make this builder mad, and we worry ourselves to death over getting these projects done
for sure
for our family. And then you can turn around and neglect, the time that you need to spend with your family.
And this is just something that
well, it's kind of like the job.
Just need to, if you've got people listening that are starting these businesses, that's from both sides. Because I can get really snarky when I feel like I'm not getting paid any attention, when I don't feel like, I'm being seen. I get really snarky, and then that starts a whole nother thing. And he doesn't understand why I'm snarky now, because my conversation and my communication skills are low. But we've learned over the past 5 years, to communicate about these things. And he's done so much better about being like, okay, I'm going home now, and I'm trying to be better about my snarkiness. So that's just something I think, because this is personal, business and all that good stuff, that's great, and all the business tips in the world. But with you bringing the girls on, the wives in, it gets personal. And I think that's something good for everybody out there to know. You need to work at your business and make it what you want it to be, but at the same time not neglecting the most important people in your life. So, especially
not after if you're 2, 3, 4 years in and you're never home, you need to step back and reevaluate. Now, if you're just starting, if you just got the business starting and you are trying to grow it, trying to get stuff done, trying to figure everything out, yeah, absolutely, you're going to put in a lot of hours. But it's not permanent. A few years down the road, you need to be like, well, I'm going to get off at a regular time, this week or whatever the case is. And especially when you have employees, I would be here and I'd be like, man, I can't believe they're just going to leave. Like they're leaving at 3:30, and I caught myself like getting mad that they're leaving on time, to the time that we agreed to, You know,
I had a guy I worked for recently that could not, I did that little superintendent thing. He could not understand why I wanted to go home at the end of 8 hours. I was like, I've done everything.
Yep.
Like I've fulfilled my obligation to you.
That's right.
It's now my time.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry that I'm not gonna work my butt to death for you. Like that, you benefit from me working more. I don't benefit anymore.
right.
Like,
Yep.
you know, but I think what Tammy was saying, and one of the things is that, and it's hard, and it's kind of twofold, is when I go back to that conversation, like with my oldest daughter about the $100 budget, and in that conversation, she's like, I just don't understand. She's like, I don't have any money to do anything. Like, I can't do anything. And I said, but you can. I said, but you're just not going to be able to do something every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna save, and you're getting to the point where you can have these bigger, better memories that you can go do. You can go do a bigger, better, real trip every 6 to 8 weeks. Spread out. You'll be able to do something better versus going to a bigger Mexican dinner every Friday night. Like, what do you want to do? And I think it's kind of the same way as when you're working and you're driving. I'm driving through these projects to get to do good and to get paid. But then once you make it through those projects, you got to look up. You got to remember to look up every once in a while, look around. And I'm not saying I'm good at this by any means because I have a witness on here that will call me out before anybody else will. But you got to look up and say, wait a second. All right, tonight we're going to dinner together. I'll leave the phone at home. I'll leave this to the side, whatever you want to do. I'll take just you, I'll just a date night. I'll leave the kids at home and we'll go do something together, because the job is just a means. It's a means to go do the other things that really matter.
Yeah.
Like your sole purpose. And I struggled that when I left law enforcement, and like people in the first responder world, if you're in that world, and some of my friends are hopefully listening. If you're a friend, you're listening, but, You
don't have many.
That's your identity, right? When you're in those roles, that's who you are. If you're a soldier, you're a soldier.
Yeah.
That's who you are. If you're a cop, you're a cop. That's everything about. I do carpentry. I'm not a carpenter. I don't want to be a carpenter. I want to do carpentry. I want to be a husband and a father. So when you're in those roles, and I had a very hard time segregating myself from that and finding my identity of who I was once I was no longer in those things, right? So I think that you got to remind yourself that even though that this is how I provide for my family, this is why I'm trying to provide for my family, is that so that we can go do a good beach trip every so often, or so we can go do a long weekend, or so that if I have an event that I want to go to with you, I can. That's why I sacrifice and run my own business, and I don't have to answer to anybody else. But I'm willing to pay that sacrifice tomorrow to go to your event today.
Yep.
And what Tammy said is also true, is especially in the beginning, if you're the spouse, if you're on the other side of that, you got to recognize, and sometimes, how many dinners have we had especially before I moved to the shop? How many dinners did we eat together in the garage? Like,
A lot.
2 plates come to the garage as I'm in the shop because I'm under pressure, I'm under a deadline, and she just comes out there and eats with me because I'm so nasty. I don't want to come in the house to eat. I need to eat and turn back and keep going.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a 10-minute meal, but we had it together. We took that time, and the recognition was given that she appreciated what I was doing. I appreciated the dinner. I appreciated the hot meal. And now it's time to go back and grind. But once that project is done, take a day. Take one day in between, especially bigger projects, but one day, if you'll take that day to clean your shop, take that day to work on your relationship and your marriage. Like, it's the same, it's the same
Clean
concept. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to clean the shop, clean the marriage, clean that relationship up, and take one extra day. I mean, I did it the other weekend when Taylor was home. It hurt. I mean, I took the President's Day off, and President's Day is not a holiday to take off in my world. I need to work that day, but she was home one extra day. So, we went to brunch, we went and did some extra things until she, and then she left. And then, I did some admin stuff I still worked. I had some admin stuff that I could do from the house, but I got those tasks taken care of. But it was important to take that time when you had an extra, especially when you have an extra kid at home that's not normally at home. But it is a two-way street, very much so. Mm-hmm. Like you have to be aware of each other. And I'm not a marriage counselor. Trust me, Kim will be the first one to tell you that I should not be giving marital advice. But
we live
I can tell you what I've learned from experience. I can't tell you that I've learned to do it all.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, I can tell you what I've learned I probably should be doing, but I'm not telling you that I do it. And it just requires that time. It requires that attention back and forth. And you got to recognize the sacrifice on both sides, because kind of what we talked about earlier. Even though you can't go, well, I'm at the shop 60 hours this week. What are you doing? Well, I did everything else that you couldn't do because you were at the shop for 60 hours. Like, do you think life just stopped because you were working at the shop? I mean, everything else here had to happen. Did you put on clean drawers this morning? Well, you didn't wash them because you were at the shop for 60 hours.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, you definitely have to pay recognition both ways. And you do have to recognize and understand that, especially to build a business, it takes a ton of sweat equity, and it takes a ton of hours in it, and
it's a big sacrifice.
It is. And as tired of you as tired as you are of that person not being at home, they're probably just as tired of not being at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think for us, after so many years, I mean, we've been together a long time, so I pretty much know Travis like the back of my hand, I would say. And we're still learning.
The one you hit me with, or a different one?
No, the other one. We're still learning today. There's things about our marriage that have changed, over the last few years going into this than before. I would say it's definitely growing. Our faith's growing. Our marriage is growing. We've always felt it's very important, the family aspect.
Yep.
That's definitely something that's very, very important to us.
Well, what did the preacher say today in church? He said, "You're never going to look back a 50-year marriage and go, man, I wish I hadn't put so much effort into this."
Yeah.
Like,
that's
true.
I mean, it was a very good statement. I was like, you got me there.
It's true, and we've done we failed a lot. I mean, over the years, and we still are. We have done a lot of things not the right way. But I will say, when it comes to the family and our kids, I feel like we've done a pretty good job in that aspect. And just like him talking about meals in the garage, there was one day where it wasn't a good day. It was not a good day for Travis, which turns into not a good day for me. And that's one aspect that people really need to understand. And I go to the couples because it's, if that one person is having a bad day, it's going to reflect the entire family. It's going to trickle down, and a lot of times I am the person that has to be the cheerleader, as he calls me, and I just have to move on.
Sometimes you have to be the bigger person too.
Yeah, and I have to so what do? I take him dinner in the garage, and I'm, and I know I could pick apart that bad day. I could pick apart everything that happened, but it's not worth it. And so, it's definitely both sides. And I'm sure he feels the same way about things with me. I mean, I am far from perfect, far, far, far. And I am trying every day to be a better person, be a better wife, be a better parent, but it is something that you learn, and having your own business. I go back and say it's not for the faint of heart. It's hard. It's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of time. It's, if you're not willing to take that time and get dirty and work, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, and
you're not.
If you're not willing to learn and do things that you need to do to improve, your life as you move through the small business stages, you're not going to make it. And, it's just, you have to, and it's like Kim said a while ago, we're still learning. Our marriage has gotten so much closer since I quit the regular job. And we took this thing on. Y'all feel that, don't you? You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah.
you have to communicate more.
I feel so much closer to you since you quit.
Yeah, yeah. You have to communicate more. You have to talk more. You have to air your grievances more, maybe sometimes. You have to, praise more. You have to be more connected as a husband and wife if you are both involved in the business. And if you're married, you're both involved in the business, regardless of what you guys are doing. But my relationship with my children and my wife has gotten so much closer since we quit. And I didn't know how that was going to go, because we're taught in school, mommy and daddy go out and get jobs and they work, and then you go to daycare or you go to school, and then mommy and daddy come home, and then y'all eat supper together and you go to bed. And that's not necessarily the right way to do it. It's not necessarily the wrong way to do it. But if you get thrown into, running a business and both of you guys are involved, the husband and the wife are involved, you're either going to get a lot closer, or you're just going to say, screw it, we're not doing this.
It's going to be a giant wedge.
And be a giant wedge. So you need to learn how to say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, but man, it was.
And I think that takes a lot of the wife willing to, because the reality is you got to be in the shop, right? You got to be working, especially early on. I mean, and we're still there a lot of times, but just like the day we moved Travis to his new shop, I mean, we worked all weekend, and come that Sunday, it's raining, it's sleeting, it's freezing, the shop is freezing, we're moving in, I have a migraine, probably one of the worst I've had in a long time, and so he's tending to me the best he can. I know it's bad. We pull up
at the shop, and she's like, "Will you just give me 10 minutes, and I'll meet you inside?" I'm like, "That's code word for this is bad. Like that's just not her to say, to complain." So I was like, "Oh my god, I was like, I'll take you home. Like I'll take you home. Like I can." It's just going to take me longer, but I can do it by myself. No, just give me 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes, lay with my eyes closed, and I'll be in there to come help you,
Yeah.
But I think part of it, too, is like, let's just say you're a spouse and I think maybe you two are good examples, right? Because you guys are involved, but you're involved in different ways, right, in the business.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want to sound like I'm deducting anything from anybody, but like when you guys did the cabinet shop and you guys started, like Tammy was very hands on. Like I feel like Tammy could build a cabinet, she could paint. Like, is there anything in the shop that she can't actually do herself? Like, yeah, but I mean, but actually the process and knowing how to like I feel like you could put a cabinet together if you could get if you could get a sheet on the saw. After that, you're okay. Probably.
Yeah, if everything is cut up, she could do everything from assembling all the way to finish. I mean, she was my painter for a while, when we were trying to keep up, and she said, "Hey, give me a paint gun, give me a respirator, I'll learn how to do it."
Whereas but my point is, so whereas Kim, she couldn't do that, right? Mm-hmm. Like she couldn't put a cabinet together, like she doesn't know it to that degree. But my point is,
I don't want to.
Is that Tammy didn't want to either.
Yeah.
But my point is that you have to put enough interest, and Kim does this, of understanding what I do in a day.
Yep.
So that she understands the frustrations.
Yeah.
Like you have to and this is not, and I think this applies to whether you're running your own business or whether you're just two people who are married and you have two separate jobs, right? You have to understand what the other person does in a day. Like, and you may not, you don't necessarily have to be able to do it to understand it, but you need to take enough interest in it to understand it, to be able to not sympathize, but to be able to, not to be able to empathize, but to sympathize, whichever word goes there. I'm not an English major.
Yeah.
But to really, okay, to really understand it, like to feel tied to the stress and whatever is going on, versus just going. I mean, let's like if I was married to a theoretical physicist, like there's no way that I could never have any sympathy, empathy, or understanding for what they do, because I just would not. I don't have the mental capacity to even understand that, right?
Yeah.
But like, let's just say, I mean, Kim's an accountant. Like, I don't understand all the accounting pieces, right? But I understand what she does. I understand the frustration. I understand that people can't make deadlines, and I understand that they show up at the last minute and and their procrastination creates a crisis on her end, and I understand that. And I have to remind myself that, because sometimes it's very simple, right? It's like, well, it's your job. Like, I get it. It's crappy that they do that to you, but that is what you get paid to do. But that's not. I can't respond that way every time, because I got to understand what that does. Because if she just responded that way every time a customer made a change on me at the last minute and created a crisis for me, then we both don't appreciate the struggles that we're going through in a day, right? And then the marriage is not progressing forward, so we're not having equal conversations about how our lives are going and how our jobs are going, because I don't want to talk about our jobs. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't be talking about your jobs. You should be talking about the life parts of the jobs.
Yeah.
And how to coach each other through those,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's her coaching me off of a ledge, and sometimes it's me coaching her off of a ledge and going, hey, it's really not that big of a deal. Or, well, why don't you sit this person down and explain to them, like, this is the process, this is the deadline, because I have to answer to this person, this person, this person. This is not Kim's rule. This is state auditor's rule. And if state auditor's not happy with Kim doesn't keep a job, and Kim needs a job. Like, sometimes you just gotta get onto a basic level with things, but you have to be able to coach each other. And if you don't have conversations with what you do in a day and understand and have the care to care about what your spouse does in a day, then you're continually to drive. It's another part of driving a wedge between you, right?
Yeah. And it was.
Yeah. Well, and go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say
it
definitely helps. Travis we communicate a lot. And, the kids make fun of us because, if he's going to work, he's calling me. If he's coming home, he's calling me. We do communicate a few times a day.
If I'm driving, I'm pretty much on the phone with her. It's kind of.
Yeah. And it is way different, or just like Travis having to come home early from Christmas and work. It's a totally different aspect to see your spouse do that when they're genuinely satisfied and happy. There's been so many times in our marriage that Travis has been in a capacity that he is miserable, or that he's not satisfied, or he doesn't feel like he's progressing in that business, or it's just not where he feels like he needs to be, and he's not happy. And so those conversations are way different. You have bad days still, and you have deadlines, and you have things that don't go your way. And, for me, my life, my business is very black and white. There's not much gray in what I do. There's not a lot of gray in my life, which can kind of be a hard concept when you do have your own business, because there is gray. Things change a lot.
One of our first fights about owning our own business was that we had a customer cancel a job because they were being relocated, and I was going to give them part of their deposit back, and she's like, "Well, the deposit is non-refundable." I was like, "But I'm the one that wrote that rule. I can determine whether I'm going to refund it or not." And she's like, "Well, but the paper says it's a non-refundable deposit. Like, it's not your fault that they're being canceled." And I was like, "Well, in this situation, it's not their fault that they're canceling the job. They were being relocated for work, and by the time that we were going to get to their project, the house was probably going to be gone. Like, they were probably going to be selling it, And it was one of those things, like in her world, it is very black. In that accounting world, it's very black and white. Numbers are numbers, and they don't change, they don't lie. It's an absolute sum. But in the business world, you get the ability to do things that you feel are right.
Yeah.
You know, and then she's like, you know, and then the next night she's, you know, the next day she's like, you know, you are right. You know, like we should, you know, we should look at it circumstance by circumstance, but we do need to just, you know, we need to protect ourselves. You know, I'm like, I'm not out, you know, I was out a little bit of material, so we took that into factor, what I could and could not return for what we'd ordered for the job, and then that we based that off of what we refunded for the deposit.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a huge thing in business, and maybe y'all can relate, but for us, we often step back and say, what would we want? What would we expect? What would we consider? What would we want brought to us as a customer?
Yeah.
You know, and that is how we try to run our business. And, you know, it's very important, you know, just like I'm that person that, especially when we were doing the renovations, and I did that a lot with Travis, and I am very much that person that you leave something better than the way you found it.
Yeah.
And so when we would go do a job, I probably went a little overboard, because yes, as I know, everyone knows I'm OCD, and I'm so OCD that I'm CDO.
That's correct. That's correct. She is not OCD, she's CDO.
But I do think it's very important that when you do a job, whether you're renovating or whether you're installing cabinets or whether you're installing a bookcase or whatever it is, and I've tried to put this, I won't teach Travis this because he knows this. I think I'm just maybe a little bit better at it. But
you remind me of it.
I remind him, and I teach my kids, like, you leave it better than the way you found it. I don't care what it was. I don't care how it is. I don't care how bad it is. This is what we're going to do. If that means we're here till midnight, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And maybe they won't notice, and maybe it doesn't matter. But that's what I would want. So I think that's so important in a business is you have to consider the customer. You know, that the saying the customer is always right. It truly is.
Yeah, and
that's a correct statement.
Yeah, and I remember we were hanging Crown. You remember this, baby? We were hanging Crown at 2:00 in the morning. 2 in the morning.
You know a story's great when you can say like 3 words. We were hanging Crown. Do you remember this? Oh my God, yes.
2 a.m.
How many houses have you hung Crown in? And you're like you say 3 phrases. We were hanging Crown. Oh my God, yeah. You know it's a good story.
And it was
right.
It was for a situation. Nice. I'll say it like that.
They're so nice.
You know, I don't want to call the builder out. It was for a situation that was absolutely horrible. I mean, the whole thing. But just like what Kim just said, leave it better than you found it, including your relationship with the client. When you get done with that job, they don't have to be your Facebook friend. You don't have to go drink a beer with them on Friday night. But your relationship, your trustworthiness, your communication should be better than when you first met them, you know. And that's why we were hanging Crown at 2 in the morning. The job was lost. Yes. I mean, we lost money on that job. There's no way to make it right. And we said, if we just throw our hands in right now, we were an infant on starting a business. It was the first job we had ever done for another builder. And I told her right then, when that job was over, I said, if that happens again, we're out. We're not doing. That's the first one we did for the builder. We're out. And so then I was like, we don't have to keep working for this builder. So we didn't. But again, we were there making that sacrifice for our business. And yeah, we were doing it for the customer, but that customer needs to like you when you're done. Because they may not tell anybody anything about you if they like you, but if they don't, you know,
that's your livelihood.
This was in the town that we're all from, by the way, so you know how word travels around there. But anyway,
well, what I do today is not for today; it's for tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like if I don't do a good job today, I don't get tomorrow. Like nobody's going to call me tomorrow, and we're in the gig industry. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but I mean. It's really no different than a musician playing at a bar. Like, if I don't do a good job playing tonight at the bar, nobody's going to call me to play tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if I don't get a phone call to play tomorrow, then I don't make any money.
And you had to.
Well, and two,
Go ahead.
I think you have to. I would say to anyone in a business, want to start a business, because this is exactly what I would tell Travis. Don't get easily frustrated by any job, especially early on, and don't let that sway you too hard in the decision making of continuing or not, because oh gosh, the things we have learned, the things Travis has learned, it's been a long road already, and there's
still lots to learn.
Jobs,
that's what scares me.
Yeah, there have been many jobs that we looked at each other at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were like, I don't know how we're gonna do this. Like I don't know how we're gonna continue. I'm dying, and but you push on, and even Travis today, he does most of everything he does now is on his own. He's a one man show, and he does an awesome job.
Thank you.
And I have to remind him some weeks, like, you can do this, you got this, you know what you're doing, push through, because the job's got to get done, and it needs to be done this week, and whatever that sacrifice is, we're going to have your back, so you don't have to, and he knows that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel confident in saying that he knows he doesn't have to worry about that aspect, and I've always, especially when we started the business a few years back, I was like, we'll be here. You don't need to worry about us and the kids.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that support system, you're going to struggle. There's no doubt about it. Because I think Travis would admit, without that support system, there's been a lot of times I don't know that he would be able to push on unless he just absolutely had to.
Well, I'll be honest with you, it's without the support system, you kind of go, what's the point?
Yeah.
If you don't have all these people standing behind you that gives you purpose, right? Like you got all these people that depending on you, but they're also coaching you and they're encouraging you. They are your purpose. And so without that, it's like why come out here and bust my? I would just go work for somebody else, and just get a paycheck, and it would be enough for me. Like me alone, it would be enough. But it's not enough for everybody. It's not enough what I want for everybody, Mm-hmm. So while all that encouragement is good, it's not enough purpose.
Speaking of wife and kids,
I'm sorry, I'll quit talking now. Tammy just yelled at me.
I think the Travis can edit that. I think the consensus is with this whole podcast is kind of been just like, without the wives at our backs, with their hand on our back, just a steady.
Or the spouse. It could be the other way around. It could be a wife trying to start a business. I think it goes both ways.
Yep.
Like it is 2023.
But it would be, it'd be a futile attempt, I think, to try to do this thing on your own. You're going to have something. Yeah. And, I hope everybody sees that, and we're not, nobody's has said on here at any point in time that we don't have our own struggles. We don't have things that we go through. We just may not air all those.
We may have a knockdown drag out tonight by the time we get done with dinner. Who knows?
It's like...
Oh, before that, probably 30 minutes.
Kim's been taking notes, so you better
don't
get
make
ready.
It sound like don't think that just because we're saying these things that like we've got it figured out and like we have perfect marriages. Or anything.
No.
That's not the case. The case is.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, babe.
But I'm also a proponent of I think fights are healthy and not like fist fights. We're not trying to send anybody to jail, but fights and arguments are healthy in a marriage. You have to have those conversations. You can't get along 100%. But you got to learn and you got to grow from them, right?
Yeah, and we go through. It has
to be part of the process.
Glad this is recorded.
Yes. Tammy and I.
I'm going to keep this for the rest of my life. This podcast right here. Yeah.
Tammy and I.
There's a lot of good information.
Sometimes you got to fight just to make up.
Yeah, we are a very vibrant.
I was going to say
we have
passionate.
a vibrant relationship whenever it comes to.
That's a good word, vibrant.
Ooh, they're getting vibrant and passionate over there. And Grady.
Like it.
That ain't just a train rumbling in the room.
we communicate.
Loudly.
We communicate sometimes very loudly and with a lot of force, and we don't pay a lot of attention, to who's standing around. And it's us. Like, we're not yelling at each other, but we're yelling at each other. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, well, I don't care. Well, then go out there and do it. And she's like, well, I'm not going to do this. And, we just go back and forth. And somebody who's not familiar with us, like the first couple of times that Trey was around here, I saw him. He was kind of like, he didn't know whether or not to leave or whatever, And then we're laughing. Right, because we're not mad. We're just yelling at each other, because we're both. Well, I am. I don't know about her, but I'm loud, and all this. So we make this big fuss.
It's loud.
And then I heard him mention.
Apparently,
yeah, I heard him mention it to Tommy, which is my middle child, and he's like, yeah, your parents are they're very vocal when they have something they want to talk about, and I was like, yeah, we are. We don't quiet talk each other, We give each other a hard time. We talk about each other's mama and all this kind of stuff, But
Not
but that's
I'm going
Not-
to draw a
not
line
you
about
either.
talking about Miss Diane. Now. I'm
well,
just saying.
yeah, well,
there's a
Tammy's one.
saint. If there's a saint among us, I mean, let's just be careful.
we will throw a your mama joke out there, and I mean in a heartbeat. But it takes people a little bit to get used to that. But that's
healthier
who we
for
are.
us.
That's how we stay going.
That's us healthier
is
than
being able to do that. But
older part of the marriage, whenever we would hold things in and hold it in and hold it in and then have a explosion and everybody's feelings hurt and nobody wants to talk to each other for 3 to 4 days. So now it's just like, get it out, and I love you, you love me still, we're imperfect people.
Yeah.
to give you a funny example, yeah, I'm trying to talk, Tammy. Dang, let's see there. So that's kind of how it goes. But to give you a funny example,
Shut your mouth. I'm gonna make fun of your mama.
last night I was making fun of this dude in the restaurant that had really puffy hair. It was all over the place. He looked ridiculous. Some skinny dude. Look, he smokes a pound of dope a day. And anyway, Riley had said that she saw a cute guy in there or whatever, and I'm like, well, I hope it wasn't him. He looks ridiculous, and so I said he only does that because he sees everybody else doing that. He wants to be like everybody else. And this one down here says, oh, really? Well, I remember somebody riding around in a Ford Ranger with some tins in the back because everybody else had them. And I was like, well, that's different because you can't see that. When I'm walking around, you can't see that. So there's this big thing. She's like, well, it's still the same thing. You could hear it. You came through the parking lot with those things booming and all that. And so I was like, and I said, yeah, and you know what? Look what.
You did do that, man.
I did.
I mean, you did do
and I
that.
said, well,
You did.
and I said, well, look what I pulled with it. And we were at the gas station parking lot, and I opened the door, totally oblivious that now other people can hear us. And I opened the door and I said, yep, and look who I pulled with it too. And she said, who you
That
pulled?
made me annoyed,
What? And I
by the
slammed
way.
the door and I walked in, and some dude was
I
looking
straight
at
gave
me,
you
and I
the
was
finger.
and I was like,
I want out of this conversation.
I told him, I said, that's just me and my wife. We just give each other a hard time.
Where's the escape hatch?
Yeah, but that's how it is, and
Yeah.
it may not be that way for everybody, but that's how we kind of mess with each other and stuff. Because there's a lot on there.
I would say I'm passionate.
Like a lot.
Yeah, we got a lot riding on this. There's a lot riding on what we do
Yeah.
for a living, so you got to be able to de-stress
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah. No, I
Well,
agree.
and I think, I'm in it for the long run, and, we joke about we're in it for the long run because no one else would put up with us. And I mean, a lot of that statement's kind of true. But
Very true.
very true.
Nobody else is
Yeah.
tolerating this.
Nobody.
I don't put
I'm
anything
to be
up.
honest with you.
So just that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just a little glimpse. I don't put anything up.
We're not going to start going down that
And
road
yeah.
because listen. You and I at least
Yeah.
have to carry this thing on after they're gone.
Right.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, good luck with
Yeah,
that.
we got to tote the podcast when they're not on here every.
Well, speaking of, so
Yeah.
let's give some parting words. Babe, what you got? What's your final words to everyone?
I mean,
Because
I
we
think
may or
we've
may
said
not
it
allow you
all.
back on again. We're in
Oh,
debate whether
I'll
this
be
was a
back.
good idea or not.
I feel like I'm going to be back. No, I just, again, I'd say support.
Very sure of themselves.
Love your spouses through it. It's a hard road. it's a successful road if you want it to be, and it's definitely a road that I'm proud of even now, and I can see the future. And I think I said that earlier. I have no doubt what Travis can do. I have no doubt where it can take us. I'm happy for him. I'm glad this quote unquote fell on our lap and that it was something that he was able to start. We definitely couldn't do it without our support of even our extended family. I mean, we have not only our girls, but, you know, our parents. They have loved us through it, and they've been a good support system. I can call my mom and dad on any given day of any given hour and say, hey, I need some advice, you know. And, you know, my parents understand a lot of it because I grew up doing this. And I think maybe that's one fear of mine that I hold back in the back of my head, because I grew up with watching my parents run a business. And it is fulfilling, but it is very hard. And it's a lot of sacrifice. So I think one thing for me is just to continue the communication and the support and, you know, just know that we got to keep our faith up and not be skeptical and not be nervous and scared about, you know, the future, and see where the road takes us. I hope it works out. If it doesn't, we'll see what the next adventure is for us. I mean, we've never been scared of that.
Yeah.
You know, we've made.
Lord knows we'll make a change. That's for sure.
You know, I think we've been here almost 13 years now in Tennessee. You know, you haven't been doing the same job, but
that's the longest we've been anywhere.
Steady. Yeah. You know, so, the road has definitely taken us down some adventures, and this one has definitely been one of the best. You know, I haven't seen Travis this happy in many years. He loved being a police officer, of course, law enforcement. That was definitely his gig, but he's not that person today. He's grown a lot. He's matured a little bit. But something that we can do all together also and see the product, it's definitely fulfilling. And I think Tammy would agree, you know, and you've been hands-on a lot more than me, just like Travis pointed out. So, I mean, a hands to you, because that's a lot. I mean,
that was an opportunity for a sound effect, and I missed it.
There's your cue. Golly. So, but, you know, I think we both, you know, we can definitely agree that, you know, Tammy and I don't talk every day. We're friends on Facebook. You know, we live busy lives, our lives are totally different. But I think in that aspect,
ain't no goats here.
Be on the same. We would both no goats here. I mean, even though Carson would love that. I mean, Carson would love to.
I mean, you're
them.
kicking
Carson's
it.
going
I
there
mean,
for
you
the summer.
literally
She just doesn't know it
you
yet.
leave home to go to work,
ship her on down,
and you work a full job, and then you come home and you take care of your family and you take care of your husband and supporting him. That is amazing to me that you have the strength to do that every single day for your family. So that is huge. Sorry, had to put that in there.
Well, thank you.
Well, keep on. You got the ball rolling.
Okay.
Keep on with some departing words for us. What
I agree with everything.
What's your advice to the world out there?
I agree with everything Kim said.
You might only get one shot at this.
You've got to have your support system in place. I mean, doing this on your own, you would wear yourself out, and you would wear your emotional state out. You've got to have someone to communicate with, to be a sounding board, or to even vent to, you know, and keep your faith, you know, which like Travis was saying, we're not going to be preachers, but for whatever it is for you, for us, it's just the Lord and praying and keeping our faith in Him, and that He knows what's best for us and our business, and just praying and enjoying what you do. You know, if you ever get to the point in this where you just hate doing it, you know, so whatever it takes for you to keep the passion for woodworking, I think that's what you need to do. Well, of course not. Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have a bad day. I think that's one thing that people forget. It's still, even if it's something you love, there's still going to be days where it doesn't go all as planned.
Right.
And you're allowed to have a bad
week,
day inside of something
month,
you love.
You know, yeah.
Like
and it's okay to take a step back if you have
yes.
the funds to do so. If not, then you can't do that. But and just kind of, really, just keep going.
I don't know what that's like.
But just keep,
forward.
try to be there for each other through that, and just get stronger together instead of further away. And I think your business can be successful. So, and work hard.
Well, buddy, what you got?
Well, you know what I'm gonna say, man. Do it. Go. Because a lot of this podcast is we're pushing people to at least give it a really hard look, and we're showing you the ups and downs, the real world of it. If you work a 9-to-5, you may not care about anything we've said. We understand that, but we're focused on people that work for themselves, or maybe looking at working for yourself. Here's some insight, but do it, man. Don't let any of this stuff scare you, because I promise the good way outweighs the bad in any of this. But like we talked about a while ago, my thing is, don't feed the fire of your job so much that you've just got coals at home. When you first start out, you have to do what you got to do. I understand that, but don't stay in that mode. Eventually, you need to get somewhere where you can knock off at the end of the day, go home, and you are done with work. You need to be there. Because the whole reason we do this is for our kids, like you said, for our kids and our wives. Don't put them on the back burner trying to give them everything. Spend time
work
with them.
Definitely has to have a priority, but don't put it above everything else. Mm-hmm. It is simply a way to live. That's it. And it's you get in what you put out, but life is not in the shop. That's not where life is lived. It's lived at the house. It's lived on the beach. It's lived on the trips. It's lived, in those moments, whether they're small moments at a time, whether they're big moments at a time. That's where the actual life is. The shop is just a way of providing that life. So don't let it be all consuming. It is important, because without it, you don't have the other. But you got to make the other the priority.
Well, even for us, like the last weekend when Taylor came home, Travis hit on this, but it's not often that we get weekends all together, and it's definitely not often, if we do get them, that Travis is not having to do something, or that something is taking up some of our time. And so we really concentrated on, he did a little bit here and there and stuff with the podcast, but for the most part, we were with the kids. And I mean, someone asked me, where'd y'all go? What'd you do? And I'm like, we were home, but we took the kids to the farmer's market, in Nashville, and we played games with them, and we went to eat, and, we just tried to spend time together. And that's not something that we get very often. And you realize those are the things that are so important, whether you're going anywhere or not. That's why you're doing it. That's why we do what we do. And we make those sacrifices. And so it's, that's the important thing.
Yeah. Well, buddy, we didn't get a chance to talk a whole lot of shop this week, and I think that's okay. I think that we talked a lot. I think that we had a really good time. I want to thank you ladies for coming on. I know that there might have been a little nervousness about how this was going to go, or whether it was a good idea to jump on. The good thing is,
were you nervous?
Yeah, I was terrified. Yes.
Oh yeah, we were a lot more nervous than y'all were.
I mean, really. Yeah.
Well, now I'm comfortable, so I can't wait till the next one.
And that's what terrifies. That's what terrifies me the most. You've only got like an audience of like 30 at this point in time, so your influence is not too
after
too
this,
terrible.
We'll have like
you're not going to take over the world, but you definitely. Yeah, that's the problem. Is you definitely have the ability to probably start your own podcast where Mitch and I get pushed to the side.
Yeah. Then we're gonna be
That would
like,
be fun.
don't feed your podcast so much that you forget about us.
Right?
Traveling the world.
You haven't been
Right.
home in a week.
But thank you.
Hey, babe, don't let the time pass.
But
You
thank
gonna tell them about your hat, babe? Your hat.
It's a
Tell the
Briggs.
Dragon.
It's a
Your
Briggs
hat.
and Dragon.
No, it's Tell the Dragon. So
Mm-hmm.
Nashville or Chattanooga area, East Tennessee is the bottom of the Dragon. It's like so many curves and so much time. It's a big thing if you're like race cars and motorcycles and things. But a buddy of mine's got a. So my dad actually drove it. Probably shouldn't have in his Corvette. My mom's sick. Trying to ride with him because it's like
A lot of wines.
this. But he did it in he's got a souped up Cadillac, and then he brought me back, a souvenir from him doing the trip because he's like you, he doesn't wear hats. But this week's hat's brought to you by Tell the Dragon. But we appreciate you guys coming on. We really do. We appreciate the love and support that you provide to us. We most importantly appreciate everything that you do for us at the house that we don't do. And that we are and the things that we're incapable of doing because God didn't design us to do it. He asked you guys to do it, and you do such a good job at it. But we could not have this journey without you. It's just not possible. And we appreciate you guys letting us live our dream. And it is a dream to have our own business, to be able to take hold of our lives and to have control of the destiny and to be able to move it forward in the way that we want to move it forward. And that is the dream. And you guys provide a way for us to live that. And it's really hard to put into words how much it means to us that you let us do that. And we thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And probably don't say it as much as we should, but we do, even on those times we're not saying it. But it's been fun having you on. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. We had a few audio issues. I've decided that I'm going to let the video version of it, whatever happened, I'm just going to let it roll.
Yeah.
I'll put that version of it on YouTube 100% live. All the bloops, blurbs, and oopses, and then for the podcast version, actually on the platforms, I'll edit those down. Maybe.
Good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you guys.
Because we're professionals.
It's been too long.
Yep.
Yep, we
Yeah.
got to talk about the details of you coming up and working and hanging out. I was thinking about that yesterday. I was working. It has me completely terrified.
Yes,
It's just going
he
to make fun
is.
of every part of the process that I do.
He definitely is.
And just destroy me in the shop. Bring your own bucket. I'm not sharing my bucket with you.
No, man.
I don't have any
We
plumbing.
have plenty.
You gotta. Yeah. Luckily, I'm not.
I don't have
Oh.
plumbing.
We don't have plenty.
But we'll get
Wait.
together. We'll get together in a
Wait.
week, and we'll.
Bucket. No plumbing.
Tammy's just not caught on.
Yeah.
We'll talk shop a little bit more. We'll catch up on those things that we should have talked about this week. But I think this was a good time. I hope that some people found it useful. I hope maybe somebody pointed to their wife and said, "Hey, you should listen to these guys," and maybe it'll help somebody have a conversation. If one person who's thinking about making a jump into their own business world, or whether you're just thinking about like actually starting a hobby, you're not actually going to the business side. You just, hey, I would like to do this hobby because you need something besides just work. You need something to focus some time and some energy and some interest into. So even if you're just thinking about a hobby, it's a good conversation to have because you need your spouse to support you in that hobby because it takes time, energy, and money. And anytime you devote or divert any three of those things away from the marriage, you need to have a conversation about it.
Yep.
So have that conversation, take a leap, jump, do something, do something new, do something creative, join the woodworking world. It's fun. It's expensive, but it's a lot of fun. And it'll open you up. And, do you have a word for the week?
Yeah. It's gonna be.
We're going to continue it. Oh, you want to let the girls do it?
Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, go.
It's any word you want. Pick a word.
Just a word is to verify they listen to the podcast.
Just a word.
It's actually, we'll make it a combo word. You got to text us both words.
Yep.
So Kim, give me a word, and they don't have to go together.
Okay. They don't have to go together?
Just one word.
They're waiting. They've been waiting the whole
Too much
podcast
thought.
for this.
Too much thought. It's not that
I know,
important.
it's too much thought.
It's not
not
that
that-
important.
I don't don't know.
Tammy's
I don't know
beating the
what,
hell out of that keyboard trying to figure out what the word is for. I ain't even looked at the chat. Oh, never mind. That's funny. That's funny. Babe, need a word here. We're charged by the minute.
We're thinking of a word.
They charge us by the minute for podcasts.
We have plenty of time to come up with a word. Word. I'm gonna say tropical.
Tropical.
That came out of nowhere.
Oh, wow. That's a hint. I feel
word.
like it's been.
That's
we
my word.
haven't done any traveling in a while, so I feel like that's a hint.
Okay.
Second word,
That's my
Tammy.
word.
Depression.
Tropical gravy. That's weird, but
Hey,
There you go.
that's the name of the podcast.
tropical depression. All right. So, if you made it all the way through this far, we need tropical depression.
That's funny.
Send it to any of the four of us. If you know how to get in touch with the four of us, that means we love you a little bit more than we love everybody else. Send us tropical depression. For everybody else, we need some comments. We need some information. Offcuts at styleboys.com. I think last week I said thestyleboys.com. It is offcuts at styleboys.com.
Okay.
Emails, questions. We like you, we love you, hate you, don't care. Send us something. Like, subscribe on whatever platform that you feel like you want to follow us on. That helps us out. That will help us gain the ever elusive advertiser at some point in time. That would be super great.
And rate and review.
Yeah, to get a sponsor, that would be beyond. That would just be beyond our dreams to actually get a sponsor, and Mitch is willing to sponsor like ladies products if it is a sponsor.
I'm not no shame in my game. I don't care what it is.
He doesn't care.
Yeah. No one's
But,
surprised there.
But yes. But no,
Wrap it
guys,
up.
Appreciate you guys being here. It's been a lot more fun than I expected it to be. Have
Thanks
a
for
great
having
week.
us.
Tell everybody we said hey.
Yeah.
And we look forward to next week. Have a good, happy, safe, and productive week. And we will catch up with you guys here before too long.
Sounds good. Come back with 10 fingers.
10 fingers, 10 toes.
Yes, please.
See ya.
See ya.